sunlight in my darkest days, darkest days. Spread some sunlight in my darkest days, darkest days. Show me the beauty when the color fades, color fades. Give me the courage so I'm not afraid, so I'm not afraid. Spread some sunlight in my darkest days, darkest days. Yeah. I want you to listen to me. Now pay attention. Welcome to my sideshow. Enjoy the free admission. The drama club isn't accepting submissions. Done with all that bullshit. This family's nothing to fuck with. Unless you really want it, then we'll add you to that hit list. Tried to prevent these events to such extent. I gave in, I was hell-bent, I still lost you in the end. I take 2 steps forward and I take 3 steps back. You can hear the contradiction, maybe I really am a psychopath. The meaning in life, it's not a secret that you keep. It's days and weeks of fear and week, no sleeping and repeat. Lose your mind and then you find it and get buried underneath the happiness, the pain, and you be getting no relief. What the fuck am I saying? All you faggots paying attention. God blessed you with ears, but you idiots never listen. I guess in what I'm saying, since there is no comprehension, my bleeding heart fell apart, let it be your intervention. Lean back, come on, get relaxed. Take another hit, headed for a relapse. Lose your mind with me. Lose your mind with me. Lean back, come on, get relaxed. Take another hit, headed for a relapse. Lose your mind with me. Lose your mind with me. I sit back and I reflect and I think about the past. It's set in stone, I have to view it through the glass. Made a lot of mistakes, I'm learning to adapt. I sit alone and overanalyze the aftermath. No straight and narrow, always seeking out a shortcut. And in the further back, see me playing catch up in the days of sin and wonder. All my days really numbered, shit.
What's up, everybody?
What I made of, I suggested you just keep it zip. Had to lose my brother to learn the value of relationships. I can't forget, I take myself a little trip down memory lane. It's as real as it gets. Sometimes I scare myself from what I really might do. I keep telling you, I've got a couple screws loose, but you refuse to believe the things that I say to you. That's okay, you can join me in the institute. Lean back, come on, get relaxed. Take another hit, headed for a relapse. Lose your mind with me. Lose your mind with me. Lean back, come on, get relaxed. Take another hit, headed for a relapse. Lose your mind with me. Lose your mind with me. I am back, I am better than ever. I survived a little storm and kept my own shit together. But inside my desperation, I was seeking desperate measures. There's a change up in the season, and I'm just a little weathered. There's a thin line between happiness and misery. Pursue the truth, life is not a fucking mystery. Get a clue, common sense is not your enemy. I was just like you, concerned with just the victory. I used to be a hothead, got a firm grip on my temper. I'm on that next level, balanced and I'm centered. Pain is dangerous, it seems to be my motivator. I'm the type to shoot first and ask the questions later. Can't tell me nothing, this motherfucker knows I tried. I sent him messages, 1,000 prayers with no reply. Can't call my nightmares with a motherfucking lullaby. So fire up that cigarette, pour a shot that multiplies. Lean back, come on, get relaxed. Take another hit, headed for a relapse. Lose your mind with me. Lose your mind with me. Lean back, come on, get relaxed. Take another hit, headed for a relapse. Lose your mind with me. Lose your mind with me.
Welcome everybody. I'm doing a kind of a short show. There's a couple of videos I want to watch and get through that, and then yeah.
Gotta keep the pace. If God forgives, I'm ready to live this life full of unpromised days. So fuck it now, I'm all in. Hate motherfuckers wanna keep me down, and what goes around, it comes around. If heaven don't want me, then I'm hellbound. And inside my man, it's Southside land. Set fire to the past, walk through these ashes. Fighting for the best, still black, for the shopping. Come and take a ride with me, motherfucker, hop in. Welcome back, got a full clip. All aboard this crazy train. No money, no cars, no champagne. But I'm still alive, and I can't complain. But trauma free, it's plain to see. Getting used to these growing pains. Success is certain, back to work, and goddamn, I can feel the change. Side of the coin, I'm paranoid. At the surface, I play it cool, and I'm afraid of heights, but out of spite, you put me up on this pedestal, but I love you, and I can't deny. Drive myself crazy with the reasons why I can't come to terms with the word goodbye, and the reason is there's no reply. Spread some sunlight on my darkest days, darkest days. Show me the beauty when the color fades, color fades. Give me the courage, so I'm not afraid, so I'm not afraid.
Man.
Spread some sunlight on my darkest days,
Welcome.
darkest days. Sunlight on my darkest days, darkest days. Show me the beauty when the color fades, color fades. Give me the courage, so I'm not afraid, so I'm not afraid. Spread some sunlight on my darkest days, darkest days. So I sit back and relax, still asking myself the same questions. Ignore the facts, I can't turn back. God, please answer me. I'm sick of guessing. I clench my fist, it's gut wrenching. Show me the way to the peace that I'm missing. I'm not religious, but remember this: I live my life with the best of intentions. Don't bullshit me. It's hard to believe, and everything around me is so diseased. So answer this: who the fuck are you?
Yeah, I've got 2 clips, I think, and 2 videos I'm gonna watch, and then whenever that's done, and then it's been a weird day between the Afghanistan stuff and stuff going on in my personal life. I don't know, just didn't feel good today.
I'm up for suggestions, but where the fuck is the light in my tunnel? So hand me the balance, I'm starting to stumble. They always say that the strong survive. How do we know too young to die? When happiness is in short supply, they hand you a pill and they tell you to try to love you, and I can't deny. Drive myself crazy with the reasons why I can't come to terms with the word goodbye, and the reason is there's no reply.
I saw that Sky Queen. I actually got a clip from there, his heart attack story I'm gonna show.
When the color fades, give me the courage, so I'm not afraid, so I'm not afraid. Spread some sunlight on my darkest days, darkest days. Spread some sunlight on my darkest days, darkest days. Show me the beauty when the color fades, color fades. Give me the courage, so I'm not afraid, so I'm not afraid. Spread some sunlight on my darkest days, darkest days. Yeah. I want you to listen to me. Now pay attention. Welcome to my sideshow. Enjoy the free admission. The drama club isn't accepting submissions. Done with all that bullshit. This family's nothing to fuck with. Unless you really want it, then we'll add you to that hit list. Tried to prevent these events to such extent. I gave in, I was hell bent, I still lost you in the end. I take 2 sets forward and I take 3 sets back. You can hear the contradiction, maybe I really am a psychopath. The meaning in life, it's not a secret that you keep. It's days and weeks of feeling weak, no sleeping and repeat. Lose your mind and then you find it and get buried underneath the happiness, the pain, and you be getting no relief. What the fuck am I saying? All you faggots paying attention. God blessed you with ears, but you idiots never listen. I guess in what I'm saying, since there is no comprehension, my bleeding heart, fell apart, let it be your intervention. Lean back, come on, get relaxed. Take another hit, headed for a relapse. Lose your mind with me. Lose your mind with me. Lean back, come on, get relaxed. Take another hit, headed for a relapse. Lose your mind with me. Lose your mind with me. I sit back and I reflect and I think about the past. It's set in stone, I have to view it through the glass. Made a lot of mistakes, I'm learning to adapt. I sit alone
about 30
and
seconds.
overanalyze the aftermath. No straight and narrow, always seeking out a shortcut. And in the further back, see me playing catch up in the days of sin wonder. All my days really numbered. Shit, I don't know, but I ain't getting any younger. Not made up, but I made up. I suggest that you just keep it zip. Had to lose my brother to learn the value of relationships. I can't forget, I take myself a little trip down memory lane. It's as real as it gets. Sometimes I scare myself from what I really might do. I keep telling
Alright guys, here we go.
I've got a couple.
If I can remember to stop the music first.
That's okay, you can join me in the institute. Lean back, come on, get relaxed. Take another hit, headed for a relapse.
Man, I can't talk to you now. Why do people call me while I'm on? No. Shut up.
And
Here we go, I think I started some shit.
Yeah.
It's the office, I got to get lit. Get buckle up, cause you ain't seen none yet. Here we go, I think I started some shit.
Uh-oh.
Get some off, it's about to get lit. Get the bass in the bass, you know that stage is set. You better buckle up, cause you ain't seen none yet. And yeah, woo woo.
And Mars in the house.
Hey. The song, the jab, pine needle tea,
Underground Doms save the children.
Social Security card claims, birth certificate claims, Vatican Tunnel,
Medbed
martial law,
1745, 10 Days of Darkness, digging tunnels, Dogecoin, the Evergreen, 19, Vaseline, boom.
Here we go.
All right, here we go.
Here we go.
Get some off.
Well, Johnny, you can go to Mommy's basement.
You better buckle up.
The Nazis were working with the reptilians.
Here we go, I think I started some shit. Get some off, it's about to get lit. Get the bass in the bass, you know that stage is set. You better buckle up, cause you ain't seen none yet. Ain't seen none yet.
We are now the news.
Welcome everybody. I am Will Bard. This is the Cold Beer Confessional. I forgot to turn on that transition. It kind of faded that out instead of just taking it off. Thank you for joining us tonight. Like I said, I'm going to do a little bit shorter of a show. I haven't felt real good today. Didn't sleep real good last night. Different things going on, but that's fine. I still wanted to do something because it makes me feel better when I do something, whether it helps anybody else or not. Some of the things that are going on, which I find weird, is some of these channels that are screaming Patriot, 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 we're the Patriots and blah 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 whatever, and now out here trying to say that the evacuation videos are fake, the Taliban's fake, or white hats, or there's just some type of deal. They're bringing up the video that we showed yesterday. You remember the video of the people falling off the plane? Riding the wheel well, and they're saying, oh, well, where's the thrust from the engines? It would knock people down. I guess they don't realize that, the C-17 Globemaster engines are almost 17 feet off the ground, but whatever. It's, I don't know, it's weird. Like, after that Mike Penny shit last night, I fired off a couple fucking pretty mean emails. Well, I wouldn't say mean, but I mean, I was pretty hot. I wasn't mean towards the person they were going to. I was mad at Mike Penny. Calling people out like you still can't be giving him your support. He said that this was fake. He said that all the beheadings were fake. He said that nobody's died in the war in years. That's just all been when they needed attention from somebody. The shit he's bringing up is just fucking disgusting. To keep calling himself a patriot, and I don't know. It's too much for me. Fuck them. I don't know what else to say to them. But that'd be the last goddamn time that they ever get, a legitimate respect or a patriot from me. That's bullshit. Yeah, I've had some stuff going on in my personal life that you guys kind of know about. It's just, I don't know, stressed me out. But we're here tonight, so we'll see what happens. I dropped all the links already. If you want to donate. If you don't. That's all I got to say about that. But I do appreciate Intel Lady actually reached out to me today, and I didn't realize it because she reached out to me on Twitter. And on Twitter, you have like kind of like on Facebook, you have and Instagram too. But you have message and you have message requests, and hers went to message requests, and I never see notifications for that. So finally, somebody got a hold of me, and she sent us this. This video. She made this just for us. I don't think anybody's seen this, but I'm sure the people she shared it with, because it's unlisted. But here's the video. Let's check it out. It's pretty good, I thought. Let's see if we can get it pulled up. Here's the video, guys. Let's see what it is.
Are you a short man with a big ego? Do you feel less patriotic when all your biker friends tower over you? Are you always overcompensating by buying expensive motorcycles? Don't you wish you could just rise above your problems in more ways than one? Introducing the new Patriot Feet Hiter. The Patriot Feet Hiter adds a whopping 11 inches to your height. Now you can stand head and shoulders above your fellow patriots. Don't feel bitter towards your comrades. Just whip out your 11-inch tool and show them who's boss. The Patriot Feet Hiter. Elevate your patriotism.
This is the Patriot Feet Hider. Elevate your patriotism. Get 17% off today with promo code 11-inch tool. Promo code 11-inch tool. Yeah. Thank you very much for that intel, lady. I really was having a rough day today, and she sent that, and I got to see it. I wasn't even in my Telegram or Discord today, really. I didn't have my phone on me most of the day, but I wanted to share it so bad. It did make me laugh when I finally saw it. That's a good video, and she put it out there for us. I'll keep it, and we'll get it uploaded and make sure that we got it somewhere where we can find it all the time. That's a good video. The Patriot Feet Hider. That is a rhyme that I never thought of. We've called him Patriot Meat and Patriot Street and Patriot Beat, and we've never went with Patriot Feet. Patriot Feet was one that she thought of that we haven't. So I really do appreciate that. And make sure, let's do this. Uh-oh.
Good morning. Sunday morning. We have a responsibility. We take an oath to protect and defend the Constitution of the United States.
Fuck Mark.
That was pretty simple, huh? Just fuck Mark. Thank you for that donation. I appreciate it. That link that I just dropped in the chat, that is Intel Lady. She puts out good videos, good little skits. They're hilarious. She usually premieres them, and I try to be there. I miss like 2 or 3 in a row, but I really like to be there when they go live if I can make the premiere. So if you guys get a chance to check those out, they're pretty awesome. And check out her channel and go ahead and subscribe. She does all the basically. If I cover it, M covers it. It doesn't really matter who covers it. She does about all of them. So she's pretty fun to keep up with and listen to. I appreciate the donation, by the way, Crushing Anxiety. And what do we got next? Make sure you check out Intel Lady. I can't believe how small her channel is. Her videos are freaking hilarious, and she always changes the names to where it just slightly rhymes with whatever, or is just and I think we kind of have the same sense of humor, because like the little stuff that I make fun of is the stuff that she makes fun of too. Like when you're talking about David Wilcox, I always make fun of him like staring at different cameras. It's like he's an action hero. His head's always turning, and they always do the cut way too late. Like he's never staring directly into the camera. You always see the back of his head. That's like what she does in all her videos. It's pretty funny. You guys got to check it out if you haven't seen Intel Lady. And she does all this stuff, and hell, she just sent me the video for free and told me to use it. So thank you for that. I appreciate it. Michael Jaco did a live stream today. And I'm not going to go too deep into his live stream. There's just the heart attack story, which I've heard several iterations of. Sometimes they're the same, sometimes they're different slightly. But he put one out today. So if you've never heard the heart attack story, here it is.
Work with for many years. That was from Boston, so I speak Boston as well. So it's all fun, right? Yeah, Mike can shift very quickly. Mike can shift on scolding to being fun. Had to tune into Janine. Good. I like to heard their heart attack story.
It's the med beds.
You want to hear the heart attack story? So yeah.
So someone asked him about the heart attack story. Now, the way I remember the heart attack story is it happened to him for some reason. He was on the side of a cliff. And there's just nothing but the abyss below him. A helicopter comes screaming in. He can't tell who it is, and they start shooting him with a heart attack gun.
I was on the Pacific Crest Trail. They came in with a little helo that was all whited out. I couldn't see into. I felt it coming before I heard it. I was like, they're coming for me. And I just turned my phone on. I'd been like months, almost 2 months without turning on my phone, because I know that's how they track you. I was like, well, I'd really like to share my things that I'm doing here.
Oh, you want to hear an interesting fact? Since he's talking about heart attacks, something that's probably, I guarantee, much more realistic and much more likely than a heart attack gun is here in the U.S., where we do daylight savings and we spring forward and we fall back. So when you spring forward, you lose an hour of sleep, and when you fall back, you gain an hour of sleep. You get to the same. You have the same hour twice, so you gain an hour of sleep. Most people, when they do studies, most people say they usually lose about 45 minutes of sleep because they try to go to bed early when they spring forward, but they can never fall asleep. They usually say they honestly lose about 45 minutes because they try to go to bed early. They end up falling asleep 15 minutes early, so they don't lose the full hour. But it is a statistical fact that on daylight savings time, when you spring forward, that hospitals in the United States see a 24% spike, in heart attack visits coming in through the hospital. And you're going to be like, well, Will, maybe that's just a coincidence. Well, on the exact opposite day, the day that we get an extra hour of sleep, they see around a 21% drop. So there's still like three missing percentages. It isn't like, equal to equal, but 24% spike on the day that we spring forward and a 21% drop on the days that we fall back. Just how much difference that hour of sleep, or maybe the stress that's caused from it, or maybe the stress that's caused from fucking forgetting to set your clock, and I don't know. Anyways, daylight savings time is killing people around the United States. And you can look that up. Those have all been studied and shit. I don't know why. Just a weird anomaly, but probably more accurate than a heart attack gun. Yeah, 007, I saw your comment about the Globemaster. They were saying, where's the security detail? That's a military airport. Well, it's not. It's half and half. It's a civilian airport, the military side to it. Second of all, it was fucking overrun. There is no security there. Third of all, it's like you're not sucking somebody up into an engine when you're taxiing around and it's 17 feet in the air. Like, there's the whole thing. The whole narrative's crazy, but they know it all. They saw it all. There's too many. They even said there's too many smiling people and not enough people have luggage. There's too many. There's too many smiling people and not enough people have luggage.
So I'd had it on, and I was like, okay, I guess it's okay. They haven't come for me. And then I saw these guys walking the opposite way on the trail before I came.
Yeah, I'm not saying it. It kind of does even out, right? Because there's a drop the next one, but it's the day causes heart attacks. So the day of causes heart attacks.
Came onto this one, and I was like, they were like looking at me hard. I was like, "You want some of me?" I gave him that.
Okay, so he was hanging on a cliff, for whatever reason, doing some type of adventuring around the Pacific Rim or some shit. He's hanging on the side of a cliff, and a helicopter pulls up. And the helicopter's a little bird, which would be a Kiowa. That's what everybody in the military calls a little bird, is a Kiowa. It's a little two-seater. Hold on, I'll show you a picture. It's a little two-seater helicopter. It is the, I think it's the OH-58 Kiowa. And if it needs to take passengers, they put benches on the outside of it, and you ride out on the outside with a little lap belt, seat belt. But it's a little bird. But let's see if I can find a good picture. And he also says that they timed it. They timed it right to where here's one. Here's a picture with it. It's got people riding with it. So you can fit a couple guys on each side, sitting on little benches outside in the mini pods. But that's a Kiowa little bird. He also says they timed it just right to where when he was in a position where there wasn't much that he could do, that's when he started hearing the rotowash, and he knew they were coming for him. So he looks at them, and they're looking at him from their helicopter, and he's like, "What? You want some? You want some of this?" And they're getting ready to play a game of chicken, I think.
I look back, and they went away. And I was like, that's weird. I've never seen anybody walking the opposite way, but it was an area where you could drive up to. So I'm like, maybe they just came up for a little hike, and maybe they think they're badasses, but whatever. So I started on this one area of the trail. I've never seen any part of the trail like this. And it was along this cliff face, and it was just big enough that it was very unsteady. I was like, wow, this is kind of dangerous.
I'm sorry, I misspoke. He hasn't talked about the Kiowa yet. That was the guys that he said, hey, you want some, were other hikers, I guess, that he was challenging. He ran into some other hikers. And I think that he's going to try to say that those people were the spotters that like called the CIA and said, yeah, we got him. He's here. I checked his microchip in his head.
So it wasn't like those guys like built it, but it was very unusual area of the trail. I'd never seen anything like it. Like cliff face, like I said, just big enough so that maybe you have to, like, if another person came, which there was a couple that I saw, and then they went out, and probably about the time.
Did you guys miss something? I don't know. The story he's telling is about him while he was hiking. He ran into a group of guys that were seemed to be like acting weird, and he's like, you want some? And they left. And he just chalked it up as the strange hikers that challenged him accidentally. And then he came to a new part in the trail where there's like a cliff wall and blah, blah, blah. And then he's going to call and say a little bird came after him.
But Janine is a beautiful soul. I look at her soul. It's very, very clean, very clear. She's, of service to humanity. So you guys that are like, it was very.
Sorry, I'm trying to get back to
it. It's like Taliban thinking to me, the Middle Ages with your thing, Zapata, with for many years. That was from Boston, so I speak Boston. To heard their heart attack story, Michael.
Here we go. This is the start of the heart attack story.
Yeah, I was on the Pacific Crest Trail. That came in with a little helo that was all whited out. I couldn't see into. I felt it coming before I heard it. It's like they're coming for me, and I just turned my phone on. I'd been like months, almost 2 months without turning on my phone because I know that's how they track you. I was like, well, I'd really like to share my things that I'm doing here. So I'd had it on, and I was like, okay, I guess it's okay. They haven't come for me. And then I saw these guys walking the opposite way on the trail before I came onto this one, and I was like, they were like looking at me hard. I was like, you want some of me? So I gave them that look back, and they went away. And I was like, that's weird. I've never seen anybody walking the opposite way, but it was an area where you could drive up to. So I was like, maybe they just came up for a little hike, and maybe they think they're badasses, but whatever. So
nobody's making fun of anybody. Jaco is slowly turning into Vin Diesel.
I started on this one area of the trail. I've never seen any part of the trail like this. And it was along this cliff face, and it was just big enough that it was very unsteady. I was like, wow, this is kind of dangerous. It wasn't new, so it wasn't like those guys like built it, but it was very unusual area of the trail. I'd never seen anything like it. Like cliff face, like I said, just big enough so that maybe one.
So I guess it's the first time he's turned on his phone in 2 months, and he kind of stood around to make sure nothing was going to happen, like they weren't going to find him suddenly and come get him. Because remember, he's some type of escaped prisoner of the secret space program and recovered memories, CIA, blah, 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 whatever. He sees two kind of weird-looking hikers that stare at him. He kind of backs them off, and then he finds this weird area of the cliff face. But I guess between the two spotters, which were the other hikers that suddenly found him, and the cell phone and the helicopter, I guess they were all through the CIA or something.
You have to, if another person came, which there was a couple that I saw, and then they went out, and probably about the time frame they were gone is when this helo came in. So a lot of you guys have heard about the heart attack machine. They use that quite often to take people out. So the heart attack machine is something the CIA has actually admitted to in previous testimony on the House. Right? those videos used to be out there. I don't know if they're still there, but they were there for a while. I even brought them up. I even brought them to everybody's attention when I started talking about this years ago. So this is shortly after I left the CIA, and they weren't happy with me because I divulged some things.
Uh-oh.
At the time, it wasn't.
You know how they take care of that when you leave a government agency, including the CIA, and you divulge some things? Court.
Intentional. But I divulged these things, and I got attacked. I got attacked by some SEALs. So I was like, okay, there are some SEALs that are part of their organization. I knew that organization had some dirt on those SEALs, and I was like, okay, I see how that works. So they actually attacked me when I brought up some stuff, and I'm not going to go into it because when I bring that stuff up, life just turns to hell. It's not worth it. And so anyway,
so he still has repercussions from it. If he brings up the right stuff, he still has repercussions from it in his day-to-day life. That's what he's claiming.
And I don't share it with other, so other people have figured this stuff out. And I'm not even going to mention their names. They approached me. It was like, was it this? I'm like, didn't even respond. Because every time I do, anyone that's involved with it gets.
It makes sense.
Screwed. All right. And so this helo comes up. It's a white helo. So they're not only black helos, there's also white helos. So this helo comes up. I was like, I felt them. I'm like, because my intuition on the Pacific Crest Trail was like wide open, big. I was like, they're coming to check me out. So, and then I heard the helo, and it's like, that's a little bird, and it's like a 2-seater helo. So it comes up. I was like, I look over at it. It's like right across from me on this cliff.
I'm sorry. I said, actually, I was wrong. I said earlier that it was, that he was talking about the Kiowa. It's not the Kiowa. It's the, damn it, the MH6. MH6 is probably what he's talking about when he says little bird. That's the nickname for it. Let me open it up and I'll show you. MH6 little bird, or we used to call it the killer egg. MH6 or AH6 is the civilian version. MH6 is the military version. But here it is. Open image in a new tab. So this pulled up on him while he was hiking on the cliff face, and was sitting there staring at him. And here's the rest of the story.
Cliff face. So if I had fallen off this cliff face, I would have fallen way down, thousands of feet, and had disappeared, right? So that's interesting, right? That they would have chosen this spot. And probably those lookout guys were...
See? They chose this spot because they knew if we hit him right here with the heart attack gun, that he'll fall off into an abyss way down there. Maybe nobody will ever find him. That's why the spotters were so important.
Because I turned my phone on. They came to this one spot. They knew it was a good spot to take somebody out in. And these guys were like, those guys that I was just talking about, they gave me shitty looks. And I was like, you want some of this? And they like just went away. So I was like, yeah. And they're going, something's up. And then I felt, because I tried to look in the window. I was going to wave at them, but I couldn't because they had reflective glass. So what little bird, has, I've never seen a little bird with reflective glass. And there was no tail number and there were no lights. So aircraft have lights on them. All right. And they have beacons, no beacon, no light, no aircraft markings. And the bubble, the pilot bubble, was reflective. I was like, So I'm not going to wave at somebody I can't see, and tell them like, I see you. So then I felt my heart go like that. I'm like, oh, assholes are trying to kill me. And I was like, so you guys know that I have extremely good control of my body, fortunately, over many years. And I knew what was going on. So I relaxed through it. And then the helo left.
So they hit him with something. He knew he was hit with something. It tightened up on him maybe a couple times, but he was able to relax through it. No, I'm not gonna go back to analyzing videos and shit. The stuff that's going on in Afghanistan really bothers me. I know it's real. I know people. I know people that are there, like the Marines that were sent in to help the situation, try to pull security, try to clear this place out. I'm not playing this game where they call everything fake. I had enough of it with fucking Mike Penny's video. If you really want to prove whether the people who fell were real or not, they do kind of disappear because they go out of focus of a cell phone that's 10,000 meters away. But there is video on the internet of the families going and picking up their bodies or what's left of their bodies.
They're like, dang, machine didn't work. So then they buzz up and down, making sure that no one was going to see me fall. They came back, hit me again. I'm like, I got to get off this cliff face thing.
Hit him again.
And they hit me a third time. So they would hit me. I'd feel it and I'd resist it, and they'd fly back and forth up the path, and they come off, and just right off where I was on the cliff face, just they'd hover there as I'm walking fast now. Stay with me, and then I'd feel this thing hit me, this energy. So it's basically, so everything is frequency. Everything resonates at a certain frequency. The heart resonates at a certain frequency. So they can hit the heart, the brain, or probably any organ if they want to, I imagine, with a frequency. So they like to hit the heart because people have heart attacks and they die. It's like, oh.
Yeah, I lost too much shit overseas. And I mean, part of my fucking mind, my friends, my time, my life, I put too much shit into all that shit overseas to come back in here. Yeah, we're patriots, man, but I don't know. Maybe this whole thing's fake. Maybe it's a bunch of white hats. I don't know. I don't think anybody's died in 2 years. I don't know. This seems kind of shady. Maybe it's this. Maybe it's that. Fuck you. If you'd have got off your fucking ass and went over there, you could have seen how real it was. You could have reported first fucking hand like I can. But instead, you talk about how, well, my biggest mistake is I never joined the military. I wanted to. I tried to. I should have. I was going to. Me and you was about like best friends, buddy. I was almost in there. Okay.
They had a heart attack. And usually these people have heart attacks after they disclose something. So, I get hit 3 times with it while they're off checking the trail. I finally got off that cliff face and I raced into a wooded area, and I did my old invisibility thing. And they searched for me, couldn't find me, and eventually went away. And then I went off trail for the rest until it got night, camped out in a secure area that I felt was secure anyway. And then,
oh yeah, I'm done with it. I don't know. I sent off some emails to some people who were covering it or hadn't covered it yet, hoping that they would cover it in a more realistic and more respectful way. And I even told them, I was like, hey, we don't agree on everything. That's cool, but at least you still have some respect left. Like, I respect what you do and understand it, but not anymore. That closed all that out. If you're going to play that narrative, it isn't about respect. It isn't about anything else other than let me pander a little bit.
Got back on the trail the next day, and I'm like, all right, that was interesting. So the next night while I'm on the trail, so evidently I didn't get out my phone again. I was like, that's bummer.
Stupid stick.
Tracking me on the phone. So I walked all day, got up early, very early, started walking, walked all day. I usually walk the trail all day. As soon as the sun rose, I'm up walking, walked all day long. Always wanted to do that. Always wanted to do physical activity all day long. And here I was doing it finally. Because all the SEALs, I were like, I'd like to run like exercise program where it's like all day long. And all the SEALs would be like, don't do that. I was like, really? You guys don't want to do that? It's like, no. Like, So anyway, I'm living the dream. I'm exercising all day long. And every day, week after week, month after month. And so I walked for a long time until it became dark. I didn't have any suspicious activity. So I'm like, okay, I guess I'm good. So I set up my tent. And that night I could hear it before it started. So I'm levitating in my tent. I'm like, this is strange. And then the zipper goes, zzz, and Little Gray looks in.
So he's levitating in his tent. The zipper unzips itself, zzz, and a little gray alien sticks his head in and says, "Hey, what's up, buddy? How you been, Michael?"
Like, this is a weird dream. And then I got levitated out, and then a little piece of something got taken out of my shoulder, my right shoulder. So I found out since then that a lot of implants go into the right shoulder. So I actually communicated with the little grays. There's like 3 of them. I had evidently worked with them before, and they said, we're sorry about this. And I was like, it's not your fault. You're just doing as you're ordered. And so they levitated me back into the tent. I could hear the zipper go, zzz, and I went to sleep. And then I woke up the next day. I'm like, that was a weird dream. So for the next several days, I'm walking on the trail, and then I come to this one area where you come.
Apparently, he had worked with those aliens before, because they confirmed that to him. There were 3 of them, and they pulled an implant out of his arm, and then he woke up the next day and said that was a weird dream.
Trail, and you go into a little town, and I went and got a little Motel 6 because I couldn't afford much then because the CIA told the IRS to destroy me, and they did a good job of it. So I basically went in and went to this diner and got some food. And it's funny, when you're on the Pacific Trail, you get food, a real food, you eat for like 3 people. And it's like meal after meal after meal. Like hamburger, French fries. Okay, that didn't do anything. So then I got like stack of pancakes, bacon, and eggs. That didn't do anything. So then I got another meal. It was like,
I thought it was his pants zipper. Oh,
and so then
the zipper on my pants went zzz,
little store.
and a little gray man sticks his head in there.
Went back to my hotel, got cleaned up. Finally took a shower. Of course, when you take a shower, you get to see just how dirty you are. It was like, oh, I'm not so dirty. And then you just take a shower. Oh, I must really smell bad too. And I remember getting picked up one time. And there was like this bunch of us, because we had these what we called trail angels, and they would meet you at an area where you would come off the trail, and there'd be a little parking area, and people would be there, and they'd like pick you.
That's all correct. I missed the part. I wanted to comment on it, but I want to go back now about his invisibility powers, but that's a good synopsis. Finally got to walk all day long after surviving a heart attack brought on by a flying heart attack machine, and then saving his own life with his invisibility powers. Yes, you got it.
You up and take you into town. It was really, really nice, because town was like be 15 to 20 miles away. So these trail angels would like cook you up. Sometimes they'd like some money. But a lot of times they didn't want anything. They just wanted to be helpful, So I remember this one time I came off, and it was perfect timing, because I came off this area of the trail, and
I thought Frog Nose quit on YouTube. I thought they were only doing Rumble anyways.
These guys have been we've been waiting for like a day and a half, they said. And I was like, oh shit. And then up the road comes a trail angel. So right when I walked up, I was like, it kind of works that way for me sometimes. So we all loaded our stuff in this one guy's vehicle, and he's taking us down the hill, and he's like, oh, because he walked the Pacific Crest Trail too. And that's what a lot of trail angels are, usually people that have walked the Pacific Crest Trail, and they know how incredible that is to, do that stuff. So they end up doing it, So this guy he was like, yeah, he's telling us all the stuff that was going on in town. And it was like, that trail funk, you guys got it good. I was like, I smell okay. But these guys stink. So I don't know. So anyway, I'm washing, and it's like I'm in the shower for a long time, and this stuff just keeps coming off. I'm like, dang,
There's an older video of him, I'm assuming when he first got separated from the service, and it's him and an older woman, and they're being interviewed by another woman. So him and the older woman are together, and another woman is doing a remote interview like Zoom. And apparently the woman that's with him writes like not fanfic, but like erotic books, like you would see like in the grocery store and shit. Like women read like erotic books. She writes those types of books, and Jayco was the person who helped her write one about a woman who runs into a Navy SEAL, and he sweeps her up and takes her away from her husband and shit. And they have some type of romantic affair. But Jayco was the consultant on that, which I find very funny that he was the consultant on one of those erotic novels.
I didn't even think I was dirty. So yeah, you get funky on the trail. So I mean, after a week or 10 days, usually I was on the trail for 10 days, and I would jump into streams and stuff, cold ass streams. It felt good on the joints and the muscles, guys. So it was beautiful. So I would keep myself clean, and but still, there was a lot of stuff came off me, and I was like, oh yeah, those little grays, they cut something out of my shoulder. So I reached over, and I still have like this little slit.
Yeah, what Frog News has been doing is going live on YouTube just for their introductions, and hey, we got Tulsa, Texas in the house and all that shit. And then as soon as that's over, they cut that off. Plus, they've been putting little teasers up before their show on YouTube, and then taking those down and doing everything else on Rumble.
That's in my shoulder, all right, and it's not to be confused with a little piece.
The crock of shit.
At one time, I had some problems, interestingly, just off from that.
Yeah, a romance novel. The woman was very clear that it was a very graphic, hardcore romance novel, but still, it was an interesting. We might break it down one day. I just randomly found it when I was looking at old Jayco videos, because I thought maybe when he first got out, maybe he just did videos like I might like how to survive the apocalypse, or what to pack if you got to bug out, or what if there's an active shooter. Like, I like watching stuff like that and trying to learn and whatever. I thought maybe when he first got out, he had some good videos. Turns out the earliest one I can find of him, he's already a consultant on a hardcore romance novel.
Where they had to like take a little biopsy. Had a little lump there. So I had this one guy took a biopsy. I never got to see what that was. And so it took a biopsy, and it was cancerous. He said skin cancer. I was like, wow. That's glad you cut that out. But it was like in the same locality of this thing that got taken out by the little grays.
So I guess he's insinuating the doctor had told him he had skin cancer and took a biopsy, actually cut and slid in so whatever the grays took out of him.
And it was just a little slit, just perfect little slit there. I was like, wow.
Just a perfect little slit there. That's also another one of the films that Mad Max Matty has starred in. The perfect little slit over there.
That's interesting.
Enough said.
The little gray took that thing out of my shoulder. I wonder if it caused that problem in my shoulder. Maybe it was radioactive or something. So, I guess he couldn't kill me, so they took the little piece out of me. And I think that was part of the thing that helped me look at the looking glass technology. All right, so you guys are into that. So I'm like way off, talking all kind of crazy stuff here. So that's enough. That's enough. I've told that story enough. All right. If all of the deep state has been arrested, why are we still having chaos and crimes around the world?
All right, so that was his whole heart attack story. It was the heart attack from the flying heart attack machine. That one synopsis that person wrote was good. So he was hiking the Pacific Trail, which I assume is like the Appalachian Trail. I've never been on the Pacific Trail, but the Appalachian Trail, it's just a long trail. And he hadn't had his phone on in 2 months, and he knew that the government was not very happy with him. He turned his phone on and waited a little bit. Nothing happened. Then he starts hiking and immediately runs into a couple that are like mean mugging him. And he's like, what, you want some of this? They leave him alone. So then he hikes to a part of the trail that something he's never seen before. It's right up against the cliff face, and goes up like through the cliff face, the trail does. When he gets there, He realizes that there's a helicopter inbound. He thought, oh, here they come. They're coming to get me. Helicopter pulls up. They have a staring contest. Helicopter fires the heart attack gun several times. He can feel it, but is able to fight it off by tensing and relaxing his heart muscles on command. He flees that area while they are in pursuit in the Little Bird, and he uses his invisibility power, which he learned in the Super Soldier program, to hide from them. That night, when he's in his camp, sleeping in his tent, he wakes up and feels the presence of someone around. He hears someone outside his tent. Then he sees the zipper start unzipping, and a tiny gray alien sticks its head through the tent. It levitates him up out of his tent and through the zipper. They take him to some unknown area, and 3 of them, which used to be his former co-workers, remove some type of device from his right shoulder. They put him back in his tent. He's good to go, and he starts exercising 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. This brings on the memory, though, of when he was at the doctor. The doctor says, oh, this could be an issue right here. We need to check it out. I need to run a biopsy on this thing on your arm. And took a biopsy and told him it was skin cancer. Did he really take a biopsy? Did he implant something? There's also a little tidbit about how bad he smelled when he was on the trail, and that people would give him rides to and from town. I think that's a pretty good rundown. Anyways, that story just kind of caught my attention when he was going over it. I thought it was interesting. It is what it is. The main videos now, we just got 2 little videos I want to watch, and I'll speed them up some, are going to be on Jessie, the Dark Mother, Lord of Darkness and Evil, from Satan and Evil and Darkness. I call bullshit on his story. Had some good drugs. What's odd is, to be a Navy SEAL, you have to be pretty mentally tough, pretty mentally prepared. You think your mind would be kind of like a steel trap. And I know that, that stuff happens, fucking brain tumors or age or whatever kind of fucks with that. But and I also know that it doesn't matter how strong you have to be a Navy SEAL. There's still going to be the percentage of people that are outliers, right? So yeah, there's not many crazy ex-Navy SEALs like this, but there's still got to be more than 0. There couldn't be none. I don't know. He had an awesome service record. He was a SEAL instructor, did all kinds of cool stuff, and then he has to come out and spin this narrative. I don't know if he truly believes it or not. But man, he'd be a hell of a guy to hang out with and just talk, like if you could trust him. And he didn't go off on all these fucking weird tangents when he was fighting alien octopus in space or whatever. He'd be a cool guy to hang out with, just listen to some of his stories, even if it was just at Bud's training. I mean, Bud's training's pretty fucking intense. He's got cool training stories, or he's got cool stories from the jungle, or got cool stories from here. It'd be neat to hang out with him. But these stories with this other shit's just too much, man. Couldn't handle it. Jessie, I just found Jessie had a Patreon. And what is Jessie doing? She's creating updates, videos, podcasts, and sharing based on the deep state, elite, dark lord, mothers, blah, blah, blah. And I was just scrolling through here. I was just Googling her name because I'm starting a file on her to try to get to try to do a full episode on nothing but her. Oh. Oh no, I saw it already.
I want to see Jacko star in a remake of Under Siege.
Have him star in Under Siege. We could do it. We're gonna have to raise some money, I guess. Steven Seagal was in Under Siege, right? We'll raise the money. If we could just hire a guy on Fiverr to clip Jacko in over the regular actor's face and just clip him in awkwardly staring off in the distance. Everywhere Steven Seagal is, just put Jacko's face on his body. That might work. Might be cheaper. Anyway, she's got a Patreon. If you don't know what Patreon is, basically what you do is people like join it like a membership, right? And from this membership, people get different perks that you wouldn't normally do. So like if there's a YouTuber you like, who instead of like donations or whatever, if they want to do Patreon, what they would do is they would give you extra perks for the Patreon stuff. So if, let's say you get That's your $5 level. You get one more video a month. At the $10 level, you get a special chat where you can talk to the creator all the time. She's got different perks here. So like a $1 a month is Patreon only posts and messages, early access to content, Patreon only voting power, full library access, current project updates, and behind the scenes community chat. So she's got different levels from 1, 5, 10, 25, 30, 50. And then she has a 100. So the 50 is early access, community chat, current projects, updates, behind the scenes, full library access, Patreon only voting power, and Patreon only posts and messages. This $50 is the same shit as the $1. She didn't do a good job of laying that out. Is the 30 different? Community chat. All donations go to supporting advocates and survivors for the Netherlands government in their fight. Just for this one level? Or all levels, because you only have it listed on this one level. She also has 100. She doesn't do a good job of describing what you get for joining. But basically, like you take them and you stack them up and you go to different things and you get different rewards levels. She doesn't do a good job of explaining it because everything's the fucking same. Whether you're at $1 or $100, they're all the same levels. But Patreon can be a really good site, and it can help people who like need money for equipment or to do projects or to fund these parts to build something. It can help them get there a lot quicker, while the people who like their content get to pay for something that they enjoy, and kind of spread it out among the whole audience rather than one person trying to buy and sell and swindle or whatever. I like Patreon. I've thought about getting one a bunch of times and then doing a couple, maybe a show or two a week that were Patreon only. But anyway, she's got between $1 and $100. Now, we would have to think that most people are probably in this $1 and $5 area, somewhere around there. And then we've also got probably have some 10s, 25s, 30s, and maybe even a few 50s and fewer hundreds a month. But she's got 877 Patreons. If every one of them was $1, which it wouldn't be. Like, there's no way. Like, the odds are so bad for that. There's no way. But if everyone was a $1, that's still $800 a month. But if you think that like $1 is like 30%, and then $5 might be 30%, and then the other 40% are spread out in higher levels, she's probably making a decent amount off this. It says, this page is behind the scenes look at my spiritual and emotional journey as I am going public to share my personal testimony and witness about growing up as the successor to the Luciferian Queen Mother of Darkness and where the Lord has brought me now. I've had many individuals who want to invest and be part of this work and need a way to do so. I felt a Patreon account would be the best way to do that. I need to make clear that no information or names or new material will be put out on this account. I have and always will offer that info free to the public through the shows and blogs that I do at Good Dog, at David Zublik, at Kathy Fox, and at Kimberly Faith. For now, I'm just figuring out different creative ways I can provide opportunities for my supporters to be involved in what I do. Please bear with me as I figure out what is most effective. I am open to opinions. I'd love to hear from each of you what you would like to see offered on this account until I decide. I am making all benefits open to all supporters, no matter how much they decided to invest. Okay, so she's already said here, it doesn't matter if you're a $1 or $100, everybody gets the same thing. Rather than having it tiered, it's just pick how much you want to give, I guess. So she does have a Patreon. It seems to be well-funded, and she's got her mission out there, and I guess everybody gets everything no matter the level. But the videos I want to watch on her are two that she actually... Well, let's do this first. Here's her website. Who we are. This is Illuminate the Darkness. This is the website she refers people to when she gets off the end of a podcast. Illuminate the Darkness. I just went to the Who We Are page. We have Linda, who worked with Subculture Ministries and youth for over 20 years. She has a host home for traveling bands for 15 years. Is a mother of 5 grown children, grandma to 6 wonderful grandkids. Tina is a creative, artsy, gothic Jesus girl with a heart for people. She has had a pastoral training and has enjoyed ministering to the youth, singles, and helping at different Christian festivals for many years. Jody, was licensed as a minister while working as children's ministry director and leader in a church of approximately 2,000 people. She's a United States Marine Corps veteran. Her focus is spiritual warfare and the prophetic. She supports SRA survivors as an ear, providing spiritual counsel and prayer. Jessie is a chaplain that specializes in two areas: military and veteran support through prayer and resource group, and those bound in the occult darkness, including Brotherhood, Illuminati, Satanists, Luciferians, Masons, Goths, vampires, witches, warlocks, and hierarchy. Marion, a novelist, photographer, artist, translator, and strategist activist. When she can, she strives to combine these disciplines in order to amplify the message she wants to convey. Currently, she is actively enrolled in the prophetic intercession and spiritual warfare. She is Illuminate the Darkness delegate for the Netherlands, and she's the webmaster of the site. So they have quite the team here. It seems like they've all got a lot of special powers. It's kind of like an episode of Captain Planet. I haven't been through all of this. But this seems to be where she's referring everybody to. It's illuminatethedarkness.com. Let's see if we can go to the homepage. She even says it in one of the interviews we're getting ready to do. 3 bird cages and 4 gentlemen. Dismantle duality of the Hague. Dutch politics and whistleblowers. A story that will blow your mind. Roundhouse Series 3. The Wheels on Fire. So here's our website in case we need to check anything out. We'll come back here, I guess, but it is what it is. This is where she's directing people. All right, let's see her first. She did 2 interviews. They're both with David Nino, and we're going to watch both of them. One was about a month, 45 days ago, and then one was yesterday. So we'll watch both of them.
What's up, folks? You're here on Nino's Corner.tv. I'm back with Jessie Serboter. Did I say that right?
You got it pretty close. Serboter, yeah. Very good.
All right, and,
Serboter.
One of my favorite guests because I love the deep, dark history and knowledge you have on the occult. If anyone watched our first part, you kind of talked about your upbringing and how you were being groomed for a role in the occult as a priest, correct? Am I right?
Is there a part before this too? I have 2 parts in a row, and I know that this is the older one of the 2 parts that I have. But there's one before. That's 7-7. What's the ones I'm playing? 728. All right, let me grab this one too. I've been linking a new tab. We can always skip around because I want her introduction for sure.
All right, folks, welcome to Nino's Corner.tv. I'm with Jessie Serboter. Took me a while to pronounce her name correctly, especially when you first said it to me. I was like, damn, I don't know what I'm saying here. But Serboter, correct?
Correct.
Serboter, yeah. And I have had many,
her chart to open portals, yeah.
To have you on the show. Off the charts, man. You and Madison Marquette, top 2 requests for me.
Wow.
Everyone's intrigued by you. They want to know more. I'm hoping to get you on a few episodes on Nino's Corner.tv because there's so much to talk about. I've had people send me information about you, and I'm talking notes that are pages and pages and pages. There's over 30 pages right here. And I'm going to go ahead and introduce you to my audience. Maybe some of them have not heard of you. And I'm going to go ahead and read this short little bio that's on the back of your book, correct?
Correct.
Jessie Serboter is a chaplain who has worked with the United States veterans in hospitals, hospices, and community programs for more than 10 years. She now has her own ministry called Illuminate the Darkness. The anointing overflows, speaks to the spiritual discipline of anointing. It is filled with scripture, prayers, and testimonies of how the Lord is at work as we incorporate this discipline into our lives. For more information, visit illuminatethedarkness.com. Illuminatethedarkness.com.
By the way, she claims at 3 years old that she met her Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ, and gave her heart to Jesus at 3 years old. And at 4 years old, she was forced into the Illuminati Church of the Queen Mother of Darkness. I could understand the 4-year-old being forced, but I don't know. You have to be of sound mind and conscious to make that decision. Even if you're super religious, you believe in God, Jesus, being saved, going to heaven, all that stuff. There's an age of accountability where you're actually able to do that. I don't think 3 years old is it. Maybe I'm wrong, but
visit covertheearth.us to mark the areas you anoint. So I'm intrigued by your past. I know you have a lot of information.
Hey Tony, by the way, the mob stories on Monday was pretty cool, pretty interesting. I know some people from our channel really enjoyed it.
A lot of intel on certain people that are out there in public eye that hopefully you get to disclose on the show and talk about. But let's start with you first. How this all happened? I guess you were.
Yeah, I would think probably the earliest would be some older than 10. For sure, maybe like 12, 14 area around there when you understand what's going on and it's just not someone scared you or someone told you to do it and you did it because they said it. But when you actually make a decision of your own to step forward, it's got to be older than 3.
From what I understand, you were forced into a system and a cult, correct? At 4 years old, 4.5 years old. And it says here you're made up of about 10 bloodlines. Let's just start there and take it step at a time from there. So forced into a system at 4.5 years old. Explain the system and what that even entails, what that means, please.
Yeah, so the system we are talking about is the worldwide Luciferian system. It goes by many names right now. When I was growing up, it only went by one. It was known as the Great White Brotherhood. It had several branches, which I'll get into in a minute. But, other names that it goes by currently are the Illuminati, the Cabal, sometimes Kabbalah. So I just call it the system. That's probably the easiest way to discuss it. It also does have connections with Nazism and the communist regime. So
may I ask a question real quick on that? Does it also most the Masons as well, the high-level Masons, the highest level Masons?
Correct. Yes.
So it's basically the whole, when you say system, it's everything we've lived under our entire lives.
Correct. You have the Masons as well as the Jesuit Catholic. So all of it works together. That's the easiest way I describe it is at the very, very top, you have a spiritual system. Scripture talks about a devil, God's ancient foe. So he and his demonic generals are at the very top who are ruling the system.
Is this very real?
Oh, absolutely. Yes.
And they're entities.
So they are entities. Yes.
Okay.
So entities that I believe.
Considering you're giving your testimony and you've been telling this as your life story for the last 20 years, in your personal opinion, would you say that this is real? You almost got her tricked there, Nino. You almost tripped her up. She never saw that curveball.
It will be being revealed under guise of other things like aliens and other worldly life forms very, very soon. But they're at the top, and they chose 5 women during my time who are called the 5 Mothers of Darkness. So those women's job were to oversee the entire system, to prepare for the New World Order, and to get things ready for the end time events that are going to be happening that the system has been preparing for centuries. Underneath them, you have what I consider the board of directors for the system, and they go by several names as well. The Satanic Council, the World Governing Council, the Galactic Federation, the Federation Alliance. Some of their subcommittees we know as the UN, the WHO, the Bilderbergs. Those are all subcommittees within the Satanic Council or Druidic Council. Underneath them, the system begins, or let me maybe go back. So the council's job is to govern the system by quadrants. So you have both the US and international are split into north, east, southwest. And each of the family lines in that system are in charge of overseeing those quadrants and the operations of the system within those quadrants. So you do have, sitting in the council, you have 14 major bloodlines. Most people are aware of 13. So you have, bloodlines like the Rothschilds, the Rockefeller, the Astors, the Freemans, the list goes
Astards. It's weird.
And then you have, I was trying to think one other thing with that. We'll just say they rotate, their positions are called seats.
So this is very, very well organized.
Very organized.
Orchestrated since what, thousands of years, hundreds of years?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it goes back, all the way back to Canaanite times, which would be, almost 6,000 years ago is when some of these family lines started to be put into place.
And since that time, they have been orchestrating on the takeover of Earth, correct? I mean, the complete takeover for the New World Order. Since that time, we're in the culmination of it all. We're at the very ending. Would you say we're in Revelations right now?
I would, yes.
So we're here now, and this has been happening through very well organized for thousands.
She would,
You
yes.
need to understand just how well organized this has been.
Yeah.
And now we're coming to the climax of what,
Yeah.
a great war, would you say?
Yeah, I would say it has been a war. To kind of bring it present day so people understand, a lot of the different individuals we see coming public eye right now, these are individuals who are in this system. So, you have individuals like George Soros who, since the early 1940s, maybe even before then, he has sat as the head of the Satanic Council. So he was born into the bloodline family, took
Always Soros
as the head of the council, and then would operate overseeing everybody who was on that council. I brought out in May last year that
I understand he probably sticks his nose in a bunch of shit that's not his business. I know he throws his money around and his influence and finances this and that, and really has a lot of power when he's got the dollars behind it to push somebody or motivate somebody. But as far as setting as the head of the demonic Satanic Council, I don't know if that's part of it.
Soros stepped down, along with, we had people like Barron Hilton, Hal Taxel, and several other councilmen have stepped down. Some of the Rothschilds now have passed away, and so their seats became available. There were several high priests who, were being trained and were eligible for those positions. So the one who took the position as the head seat that Soros had was called the Phoenix of the council. So the person who took that seat was Barack Obama. So he now is overseeing the entire Satanic Council, if he's still with us.
You're
And
saying if Barack is still with us.
correct,
So he could be dead.
he could be.
Okay.
Yeah, we're not sure
So-
on that, but if he's there, then he's overseeing this council and putting people into positions in place for the end time agenda, which will, their job with the system is to bring in the New World Order, which includes, a one world government, one world religion,
Sure.
one world economy. So we'll start to see things taking place and going in that direction where everything is becoming a one world system.
Tell Sash it's for entertainment purposes only.
Now, let me ask you this: when you say now knowing this information right now, then, and at what age were you taken out of this? You were? It says here you're forced into the system at 4.5 years old. How did you get out of it? I don't understand how that even transpires. How that happens?
I was fully trained by the age of 10, and it was at age 10. I got to try to.
She accepted Jesus' theory. She was at 4.5. She was forced into her Illuminati Deep Mother Darkness training. At 10, it was over, and she was a master warlock. They started calling her Dumbledore.
Find a way to help people understand, because once you're in the system, unless you're dead, you're never truly out. So being out means that the Lord literally put a wedge between me and those who have plans for me in the end time events. But in their mind, they still have plans for me. So, they've been trying to make that happen. But what happened was that, people who are in this system, like I said, you don't just get out. If you try to defect, they will hunt you. They will, kill you if they need to. They will do whatever they need to keep you under their control.
Which is why I'm wondering why you feel so comfortable speaking out on this. Is it because you feel like you have the protection of God, or do you feel like that? And why do you feel so comfortable coming out and talking about this?
Yeah, no, it absolutely is the power of God. About 4 years ago was when the Lord told me that I would be publicly sharing my testimony. And, I basically had an option. Either I obeyed or I didn't. But the Lord said to me, you will share your story and you will do it right in front of their faces.
They're not all out here sharing their story and coming forward under the protection of God. Then there's so many people that come out and say, "Oh, nobody can hurt me, and they can't do nothing because I got God. And if I'm telling the truth, somebody's got to be lying here, okay?" And you don't need protection from a group of people that you made up, that you pretend that you make stories about that never fucking happened.
So he couldn't have been more clear than that I would be doing it right in front of them. And, every moment is a moment of faith because I don't have anything else. There isn't protection, there isn't safety in speaking out.
There's a lot of people that are very skeptical in all this. When I try to explain this kind of stuff to them, they go, I don't know if I believe that. Oh, a Satanist. They believe in a devil with horns and a pitchfork. It's not like that, is it? It's much more complicated. And this does exist. This is behind the scenes and everything in our lives. This is well orchestrated and well engineered and has been for thousands of years. So what do, I guess you could call it Satanist, right, Jess? Am I right in saying that?
Yep, Luciferian, Satanist.
Luciferian. So
we can get into some of the system, to show how organized it is. We were talking about, you've got the board of directors, those on the Satanic Council who oversee the different quadrants.
Of course.
As you get into those areas or regions, it starts to break down into 5 departments that run every region. So you have the Jesuit Catholic. They have a whole entire system, from the Pope on down, that are part of this organization. Their job is, to program the people who are put into their care for their position.
The story's identical to the guy who plays Zepp albums backwards, but at least he's believable.
So each of these departments run a set program for the system. So you have the Jesuit Catholics, you have the Masons, you have the Mormons, you have the Kabbalah, and you have the Satanist groups. So, underneath each of these as well, primarily the Masonic and the Jesuit group, you have a connecting piece where part of the programming is done through the military bases, where children are put into experimental training programs, whether it's MK Ultra, Delta, Epsilon. They have a million different names for the different programs. You can look up projects like the Montauk Project. But
children are a vital part of all this, aren't they?
They are, yeah.
And adrenochrome, it goes into adrenochrome, it goes into experimentation, pedophilia, the whole thing.
That's right, absolutely.
And that's why they wanted you at the age of 4.5, but they were going to use you for a different reason, correct? They were going to groom you.
Correct. Yeah, I was being groomed to take the top. My proctor and main person that I was studying to take her position was the Queen Mother of Darkness. So my job was to oversee the entire system, how it worked, and to make sure that the end time things, everything was in place for the end time events that are to happen.
And what age were you like, yeah, this ain't gonna happen?
Yeah, that was right away.
That's a little too fucking dark for me.
No. Yeah, I had actually a year and a half before I started my training, we had our house pipes had frozen. We had to move in with family members that were Christians. So they took us to church, and it was at age 3 that I came to know the Lord. So I actually went into the system knowing the Lord and being a Christian and having to go through all of that darkness as a little Christian.
That's insane. Wow. Yeah. So how did you, how long did you have to stay in it with having that conscience and having that heart, being a Christian and learning all these dark occult practices and magic? How far did you go? How long did you have to, let's just say, fake the funk? How long did you have to go?
Sure, but she's been saying the same one and adding detail to it for years. You know what I mean? She's built this delusion around a simple, probably a simple premise, and adding more details and repeating it and watching her own videos and repeating it, and doing it again, repeating it. It's the same people that tell a lie so many times they start to believe it.
Before you were like, man, I can't do this anymore.
Literally, I was taken out by the Lord out of the system, but I had to go until age 10. The bulk of my training, or the most intense part, was from age 4.5 until 7. So that's where they're testing your spiritual gifts. They're teaching you how to use those gifts in the context that they want them used, which primarily, in my case, it meant that I had to learn very high level black magic. And then from age 7 to 10, that was kind of considered your apprenticeship. So, I would have to basically learn all the ritual prep, go through the different...
Does one of them live right beside an airport?
Some of these things, these end time events and rituals, they were prepping us for these things when I was a little kid back in the 80s. So, they put in 30, 40 years worth of ritual prep just for one end time ritual. So it goes perfectly. So during that time, from 4.5 to age 10, I had several different teachers in the system who were in charge of, training me in different things. My main trainer was the person that I call my proctor. So that was the one whose position, she was the Queen Mother of Darkness, and that's whose position I was supposed to take. She worked along with different Nazis. And, that's something that people need to understand about this system, is that it is very intricately entwined with the Nazi system. And so, that's strange. World War II, they did not do away with the Nazis. They opened up
Project Paperclip
to them.
Is it Project Paperclip? Yeah.
Project Paperclip, Project Aerodynamic.
I see you, Shady. I saw your question about Telegram. Did you try updating the app or forcing close and restarting it or something?
So the main Nazi that was my trainer was the Ukrainian Defense Legion leader, Michael Karkok. He was connected to Tavistock, which people can look into. That was a institution that psychologically and mentally did experiments on Jews and other, they had bases in Russia, they had some in the UK, and they brought those here to America, primarily hid their organization in our US government departments. So, that
makes sense.
And known that he did horrific experiments on Jewish children. One of the survivors that I'm connected with, Cheryl Beck, she's one of the children that he put the implant into her brain. And one of the other survivors, Cisco Wheeler, her father worked directly with Mengele. So, these different survivors can testify to the Nazi connections. So Cisco Wheeler was also, her family were chosen as programmers in the system. So I was connected with her because she was teaching me how the program worked. So her father worked directly.
Makes plenty of sense.
With Hitler, with Karkok, with other Nazis in the U.S. government. Go ahead.
When you're dealing with children, these people, they create, from what I understand, altars, correct? Is that the right terminology? They create certain altars. And don't they do that through torture and pedophilia?
That was their original way that they did the programming, was through the mind breaking through the MK Ultra program. And that was all the way from the 40s up through the early 80s. But what they found was that with those children that were in those programs, that, usually around age 30, the program would start breaking down. And, the mind would be so split and altered that they couldn't, at first they would reprogram, but then they found that there got a certain point where they couldn't, and the person was then no longer valuable to fulfill their position in the system. So, here we're going to get into, as we get further into Karkok and what I'm going to say next, we'll get into the mind constructs. So Karkok was, the main trainer and teacher for Michael Aquino and John Brennan. Both of them are high priests in the system, and they put Michael Aquino over the Western Quadrant in the training programs, primarily with the military, the DOD, the DIA, those systems. They put John Brennan over the CIA, the FBI. Both of them kind of shared DARPA, HARP, CERN, and all the programming of individuals that were going through those departments. Their main thing was experimenting on children. So people can do this research for themselves, and I encourage it because, I'm just explaining what I learned about the system. So Michael Aquino,
you can find any kind of your crazy brand of story out there, though. That's the problem.
No, there's many
with
more.
research, and people people look for whatever backs up what they already want to believe.
You have the grand high priest and priestesses who would be under the Satanic Councilmen for their quadrant. So like for the Eastern Quadrant, you had individuals like Gloria Vanderbilt, who's Anderson Cooper's mother. You had Lori Cabot Kent. On the Western Quadrant, you had Joan Collins. So you have several. And then underneath the grand high priest and priestesses for those quadrants, you have the high priest and priestesses. Those people will directly be in charge of the 5 departments. So, they'll be kind of like the supervisors over the Masons, over the Catholic churches, over the Kabbalah, the Satanists, and the Mormon groups. And they'll oversee the people who are running those, which, the departments are in charge of running, the programming, the trafficking, and, the drugs, all
very,
of that.
very,
So
very well
it's very organized.
Very
yeah.
well organized. But from what I understand, is it is currently being dismantled. Am I right in saying that, or is it stronger than ever before?
Nope,
It's being dismantled, correct?
It is being dismantled to a point. If people listen to my talks,
not completely though.
The end time biblical.
Gotta keep going, keep working.
Happen. The Lord has said that His kingdom comes in power. Before that happens, temporarily, He had given jurisdiction of this earth over to our enemy Satan, and Satan has what Christians call an antichrist, who will be the person in the end time who will raise himself up as God. And the system has invested everything in raising up this individual for the end time events. And they believe that, this antichrist will be the one who will defeat God. And again, this is their beliefs. They believe that the antichrist will defeat God and will give the entire heavens and earth over to Satan, who will then pronounce himself God over everything. So that's their agenda. Everything revolves around Satan becoming God.
Do you think they're going to be able to achieve this through transhumanism and AI? Is
that's part of what they're trying to do? Yes, is to connect. All of those programs are based on making basically human hosts for the demonic army. So everything that they do with those, is connecting people.
I understand he's doing an interview, so he's trying to be like engaged and blah, blah, blah. But I just think so much of it's over his head and she's going to make it up faster. Like, he's definitely not going to call her out. There's no way.
To their spiritual gifts and abilities.
They're not on the same levels.
Hosts, who then will be the army that marches against God. What we see happening now is that the system actually has 2 sides. We got to remember that it's not a system of truth, that it's all based on deceptions and lies. So, they knew that the dark side of their system would be taken down. So we see that in process. We see the dark side falling. But what's happening is that basically the light side of the system, which is the side that's going to usher in the Antichrist, is rising up. And they're helping to take down the dark side of the system so that they have reign to usher in the end time things.
So this just all around sucks. It's kind of like it's going to happen whether we like it or not.
Right. But as Christians, we know that God has made a promise that, He is victorious. So in the end, we know that we will overcome even that light side of the system, and that God's kingdom comes in power. That it will.
There we go.
No more wickedness.
Where do you feel we are at the moment in this war? Is it just beginning? Is it just starting? Or are we in the middle of it? Or are we just entering the storm?
I think that we're in the middle end of it. Okay. So I believe, it's been going on for quite some time. And we're nearing that end point. So some of the things we're going to see happening, is we're going to see the formation of the one world economy, the one world money, the, one world religion, one world government. And as we do that, we need to keep our eyes on Israel, because Scripture tells us, it outlines everything that's going to happen. We know that in Israel, that it's on the Temple Mount. When that temple is fully rebuilt, it's upon that mount that the Antichrist will stand and proclaim himself as God. Not only will he proclaim himself as God, but the people of Israel will proclaim that he's the long-awaited Messiah and God that they've been waiting for. So that's going to be a huge indicator. Once we see that happen, we know that from that point till the final battle is about 3 years. So we're in this period where, I think we're in a...
I'm going to skip ahead some on this first video. I was really concerned about her introduction, but we're way past that. So I'm going to skip ahead some.
So what is your outlook on Trump, and where does he fit in all of this? I mean, I know right now there's a covert war happening.
Yeah. Well, let's see what she says about Trump fitting in.
I've heard that you are helping and clearing out the tunnels where the child trafficking is taking place, if I'm correct on that.
Yeah. Let me explain that a little farther. So, when the Lord said that I'd be giving my testimony, one of the things he opened up was the doorway for me to share with those who are good men and women who were trying to, they were in the government. They were seeing all these things happen, all the wickedness, all the evil, especially with the child trafficking and experiments going on. And so these people, were trying to plan and find ways to bring the system down. What happened is that the Lord literally kind of dropped me in their laps. And, the first thing they wanted was tangible evidence. You can name this person in government, but where's the bodies? Where's the evidence of their crime? These people are so organized that there really isn't a whole lot that you can find, and if you find something, usually you don't live to turn it in. But the one thing that they forgot, I use that term loosely. They have underground the massive ritual walls. And these were walls that are dedicated to some of the highest demonic entities like Moloch and Baal. People can go all the way back, studying scripture, studying ancient history. You can research about the Canaanites and their worship of Moloch and Baal. These walls have the handprints of every single child that has been born into this Luciferian system for the past 200 years in the U.S.
And these are underground.
These are underground. Yeah.
So handprints of the little
every child.
Walls down there.
Yeah. So the location.
Every child for 200 years had their handprints on the tunnel,
which basically gave them the fingerprints of every single person who was in the system.
Wow.
When you're 5, when you partake in your first ritual where you are required to take another life, that's when you put your hand in blood on
at 5 years old.
At 5 years old.
You kill somebody at 5 years old.
Yep. They train you before that.
Excuse me?
Wow.
When you're 5, when you partake in your first ritual where you are required to take another life, that's when you put your hand in blood on
at 5 years old.
At 5 years old.
You kill somebody at 5 years old.
Yep. They train you before that. So I'd encourage some of the proofs of that if people want to know. I'll give the proof of little Prince George. There was a video.
You just hold that for a second, because let me tell you why I know this to be true. Because in cartels in Mexico, they get the kids at that age, and they start giving them drugs. They start giving them money at 7, 8, 9 years old because they don't have families down there. And then they train them into a stone cold killer by the time they're 13, 14 years old.
Correct.
That's true. So Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah. So with that, he went through, I saw evidence of him going through several of the same ritual prep things that I did. When I was in 4.5, almost 5, one of the things they would do is they would have us bake cookies over and over and over again. And you think, that's harmless, a family activity. Nothing goes on with that. But here's what they do is, as you're
part of her training was baking cookies.
Preparing these batches of cookies, they will continue to add more and more flour to the dough. And it gets to the point where you can't stir the dough because there's so much flour. That's when they encourage you to start, just hacking away and stabbing at it with your spoon. And what they're doing is they use cookie making to prepare you physically to be able to stab through a human body.
And that would make sense with today's.
And he agreed with it. He agreed with that. That would make sense. That makes perfect sense. Cookie dough stabbing is just like stabbing a human. That makes perfect sense. What did I think of this? One more time for the people in the back.
To accept this mind-numbing response of killing and like
that makes perfect sense.
Killing.
I made a cookie.
Absolutely, yeah. So you can look through some of the Christmas search for Prince.
I made a cookie. That's what my mom's calls it when I go number 2.
George and Christmas pudding. Not last year, I think it was the year before in 2019. They put up the video and they make it public. Everybody gets to see it. So they show him stirring big batches of Christmas pudding, Prince George and Christmas pudding.
They're programming the kids. They're
just hacking away and stabbing at it with your spoon. And what they're doing is they use cookie making to prepare you physically to be able to stab through a human body.
And that would make sense with today's kids playing video games. It's all about murder, kill, They're programming the kids. They're conditioning kids today to accept this mind-numbing response of killing, and like every video game now is killing. Right? Am I correct in saying that? You think? I mean,
absolutely, yeah. So, I mean, you can look through some of the Christmas, search for, Prince George and Christmas pudding.
Look, I played violent, horrible, horrific games. Lots of people did growing up. I don't think that's the deciding factor. Come on now.
Not last year. I think it was the year before, in 2019. They put up the video and they make it public. Everybody gets to see it. So they show him stirring big batches of Christmas pudding, and they keep adding more and more flour. It's a Masonic tradition to get kids ready. They keep adding more and more flour, and then you will see in the video, it gets to the point where he's stabbing at that pudding. Pudding's flying all over. Who's there watching? Prince Philip, the Queen, everybody's there. They're laughing, making it seem like it's a fun family thing, but they're actually there observing his ritual prep for that ritual. So that's stuff that you can look up. I have a witness to my story. The Queen was also present it was one of the few times that I met her. And she was there for, my cookie dough making experience. One of her hidden sons was the witness to that and was present.
That's what you're going to go with?
We went through that together.
The Queen is your witness? The Queen's going to come testify for it? The Queen's your witness. I gotcha.
Together, and
makes perfect sense.
I was the omni child, though. I snuck some of the cookie dough and shoved it in my mouth, and got my hand slapped.
This is crazy. So these are like conditioning classes to get you to kind of into the idea of massacring somebody.
Yep.
Cutting them into pieces, right?
Absolutely. Yep.
So how do you think this works? And we're going to just jump ahead a little bit. How do you think this works with, like, from what I see, like these celebrities, these politicians?
So that's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. The problem with having a 5-year-old child do that is not going to be the technique or how used to it are they to this motion. It's going to be the fact that they're 5 years old. You're going to have to find someone that they can overpower, first of all, and second of all, kids recognize life. Like my kids wouldn't go around and do fucking mean shit to mean things. That they understand they've already been scolded or whatever, and they're not going to kick or hit or whatever. They've already had rules at this point. It'd be breaking those rules and making them seem like it's all right. It has nothing to do with, oh, well, keep doing that motion because you're going to need it later. What for? I'll tell you. Keep stirring that pudding.
They work on them.
Then you see a woman randomly walking down the street and you just start screaming, "Stir the pudding! Stir the pudding!" Kid jumps out with a ninja sword.
Same way.
Got it.
Are they all born into the system, or are some of them pulled into the system as adults?
Yeah, some are pulled in. It depends on your level in the system. So the higher level people who are going to be in charge of departments or certain programs, those people are going to be bloodline. They'll be born in. And then they have individuals that they work with. You've got two groups. Most of those who are born in, who are, with the high level individuals, those I call hierarchy children. So, you're pretty much bred through certain gene lines to have certain gifts to fulfill a certain position. The other kids, this is not my term, this is their term, are considered expendable. So, they'll use you to profit, you're basically the profit and their asset. The hierarchy kids are their insurance policy. You ensure that the system continues to run through the generations. So some of the things that I saw as a kid, with this is that they would do school trips, and it'd be to places like Baraboo Circus. The Frank Lloyd Wright houses were huge, where I saw a lot of child auctioning happening, and they would make it look like they had a whole bunch of buses coming in with kids from all over the states. You didn't know who the other kids were, and there'd be a teacher, what looked like a teacher out in front, and this whole row of kids. So, we'd go in, and it was made to seem like it was a fun day. As a kid, you really have no clue what's going on at these events. And, like I would be behind my proctor, and she would just walk past these lines of kids. But, my job in training was to observe everything that she did, because I had to learn, what she was doing. So she would walk past the line of kids and she would either nod her head at a child or she would hold up a finger. And then she'd go on to the next one. And what she was doing was that if she nodded her head, it was telling the teacher of that group of kids that she wanted that child for programming, that they would be somehow put into some position in the system. If she held up her finger, it meant that kid was expendable. That child then would be sold into sex trafficking. When they were done being used for sex trafficking, people pay more money to either ritually kill or consume the child. After they're done with the body, whatever remains, they pay more money to have it incinerated and pressurized into a diamond. People can go online.
What?
So hold on. So I know
It's the Jason Q diamonds.
Now you're saying they actually incinerate these kids.
Yeah, so this is past the adrenal part.
Oh,
that would go with this is past the adrenal part.
So it goes further than adrenochrome.
Yes, the adrenochrome would be, as they're used for sexual things, that would be one of the other things that the kids could be used for gathering adreno. But
you got to make diamonds from them.
That's a different department than the sexual things. Those children will be hooked up and used. They have warehouses.
So okay, hold on one second.
Where they gather stuff.
Is done ritual. Well, hold on. It's done. They terrify the kid. They torture the kid so bad that they release all this adrenaline. That's what through their pineal gland, right? Is that what it is, or their adrenal glands, I guess? And then they use that as the drug they take, right?
Yep, we're going to go down a big deep wormhole here. Okay. You've got two different things we're talking about here. You've got the organization where they're using children and people as assets to make money off of. And then you have the other side, which is the ritual use and the daily functional use of those who are considered the elites in the system. So you've got different processes, different things that they're doing. So with the adreno, for the elite and the hierarchy people, they have individuals that they purchase that they want their adrenal.
That's right, Darren.
These people
send me a diamond if they turn out good.
In certain labs or in warehouses.
Which are being cleared up, by the way, right now, aren't they?
Huh?
But which are being destroyed right now is what I've heard.
Correct. They have been finding those places. That was some of the stuff I taught, the method of the underground tunnel system, how it works. So they were able to, know how the tunnel systems were structured, so they could go in and rescue those deeper areas where these individuals are being kept.
Okay, let's go back to what they do in the tunnels. Go for it.
Yeah, so they've got the.
She does look down on a lot, but surely this isn't scripted. They'd come up with some better fucking questions.
The ancient methods where, two of my teachers
likes to look down while she's thinking, I guess.
We're from these ancient bloodlines. So they do the ancient removal of adrenochrome. So they're not going to worry about scaring somebody to get the adrenal glands working. And in fact, they also want the hormone that comes out of the pineal gland. So I'm just going to lighten it up and say they would have people and they would tap their pineal glands like a maple tree. And that's how they would collect the hormones. They would put it into a tincture with either alcohol or formaldehyde.
That you could probably put under your tongue or something, or what?
No, the pineal gland's right here.
No,
so
but
they have to.
But they would turn it into a tincture, you said.
Right, a tincture. So that's like a vanilla extract.
Okay.
Rum extract. It's basically like an extract that is held. So they would put the hormone or the chemical collected into alcohol or formaldehyde, which is going to preserve it. So, they test, they know that they have, tinctures that are proofed to be able to take daily. So I call these people, daily adrenochromics. They function on it and they have.
Oh no. Brian Tucker. Thank you very much, man. I appreciate it. $50 from Brian Tucker into the cult. Thank you, man.
Amounts that they know.
Right, I'm going to skip ahead and see how this one winds down so we can go on to the next one, because there's 3 interviews with her.
Tell every single individual I could about the system. I went to law enforcement, I went to teachers, I went to pastors. The most I ever got out was one of two lines. Either my family's in the occult and I'd be shut down, completely told to keep my mouth shut, or my family kills babies. And again, shut down completely. I'd never get past that. So, I talked about that and I asked a question. I said, for the majority of people like me who have come out with the truth of this stuff, what happens to them? The system, invests quite a bit of time and money and effort making those people look crazy. Then they get them under psychiatric care. They put them in a mental health hospital, heavily medicated, and that's about it. Your life comes to nothing.
Yeah, but now you feel confident to do this because would you say that we're winning the war on this? Would
Absolutely. So this is what I want to bring out is that, what I asked that administration is, are you willing to invest in people? Will you take these whistleblowers and give them, a future and a hope?
The hell was that?
And we see that happening. We see that as these people have come forward, unlike any other time, there are so many whistleblowers coming forward with, direct eyewitness accounts of what they've experienced from the system. So that's a huge part of the anti-trafficking summit. You see it there. In that video, Trump's administration releases that they set up a committee, and it's an anti-trafficking committee. Who sits in that committee? It's people who have been trafficked personally.
Wow.
So when a survivor runs, to the embassies and they request this committee, they get to tell their story to individuals.
Yeah, the pineal gland is actually further towards the back, behind the the pituitary, and it's actually further back in a little cavity-like thing. I didn't think about that, but you're right. She pointed at the wrong place.
Who have lived it, who have been there, who understand what going through it as well as what getting out entails. So these are some of the proofs to show, what this administration has been doing with the information that they've been given.
Amazing.
I thought it was an emergency alert. I didn't know what that was from.
I really hope you can come back on my show for.
I thought my computer did it.
Amazing guest, and I really.
So they're winding up. They're gonna do a part 2. I'm gonna back up and see if that was me or was that her.
More on this?
Absolutely. So this is what I want to bring out is that, what I asked that administration,
Trump. What's your thoughts on Trump?
Yeah, he's been an individual.
God, I got to sped up just to see.
When I talked about, I had to,
where the alert went off and who it was.
That administration were the individuals who took that information and are doing something about it.
So he is 100% a good guy.
So yeah, I encourage people, particularly look into the anti-trafficking work that he and his administration have been doing. You can look up the anti-trafficking summit. You can look up the anti-trafficking report. Those are things that will give you a good indicator of all of that. And, one of the first things that I had written to that administration was about how hard it was to trust and how, from the time I was, 5 years old, I tried to tell every single individual I could about the system. I went to law enforcement, I went to teachers, I went to pastors. The most I ever got out was one of two lines. Either my family's in the occult and I'd be shut down, completely told to keep my mouth shut, or my family kills babies. And
at the asylum. I'm not touching anything right now. So
I talked about that.
If it plays again, it's got to be her.
I said, for the majority of people like me who have come out with the truth of this stuff, what happens to them? The system, invests quite a bit of time and money and effort making those people look crazy. Then they get them under psychiatric care. They put them in a mental health hospital, heavily medicated, and that's about it. Your life comes to nothing.
But now you feel confident to do this because would you say that we're winning the war on this?
Absolutely. So this is what I want to bring out is that, what I asked that administration is, are you willing to invest in people? Will you?
So it was her. You guys are right. She reached over and shut it off. Whatever it was. She must have got an Amber Alert on her phone. I wonder why they're sending Amber Alerts to the Mother of Darkness. That doesn't make much sense, does it? Let me grab the next interview and we'll go ahead and kick it off. Boom, boom. This is interview number 2. Like I said, we can skip around too. I'm not doing a long show tonight, so I'll probably skip through this one.
Saying that?
Nope, as a Mother of Darkness.
A mother of... Gee, correct me. I'm sorry. As a mother, it sounds a little more sinister.
Yeah. I'm just kidding.
This is this religion, or I guess whatever you call it, is. Could you say it's behind the scenes and everything, and every facet of every human being's life? It's really probably the biggest religion out there. Would you say, or?
I would say so. Yes. Yeah. It goes by several names. Most people aren't aware of. Its original name is the Brotherhood. So you hear it. I watch Netflix shows. Show after show, they'll bring up the stuff about the Brotherhood, and you'll hear that term. but it also goes by the Illuminati, the Cabal, the Deep State, Luciferianism.
And the
Masons don't call themselves, but they are a department. The Jesuit Catholics are a department. Yep. So it's through every facet of life. Yes.
And so that's who we're really at war with here.
That's right.
How the hell do you beat that?
So every.
I believe in God.
That's right.
That's the only way you can beat. But no matter how organized evil is, you can't stand up against God Almighty. So that's the way I see it. But would you say that's the war being waged right now, is us against them?
Yeah, I would put it more at a spiritual level, that it's the spiritual forces of darkness against those who are working for spiritual forces of light, which would be God.
And can I ask, just to give you a recap real quick, Jesse, like you came to Jesus at what age, or what age?
How do you know who I'm working for?
I'm going to.
How do I know who I'm working for?
It was at age 3 before my training began, but so I was a Christian going through the system. I got out at age 10, where the Lord allowed me to walk away, but according to the system, they have end time things that they want me doing. So, they don't consider me out, even though I've never, done any of those things. So, so it's a constant fight with them and saying, no, these end time things aren't going to happen and I'm not going to participate in them. So, and then, the Lord kind of had me go in the opposite direction where, I
so they want her to bring forth the apocalypse, the end of the world. And she's like, nah.
And
she's real fucking to have all this information, to have fled, to be a whistleblower, to be giving out names and numbers and techniques and how it works and procedures and tactics. She's real comfortable sitting next to that window, ain't she? The last episode, it was open.
Particularly the trafficking and the horrific things that the system does to children. So, started revealing to them the information. That was some of the troubles they were having, like when they did the New York rescues. Some of these kids have never even been to the surface. So they are down in these deep systems that are very low in oxygen. And, I saw things going across that they were trying to get ECMO machines for the children down there, which an ECMO machine is used in the NICU, which as a chaplain, I worked in the NICU for a while. It's kind of like a dialysis machine. So it takes the load off the heart and the lungs and will circulate the blood through the body. But, I did not see a high success rate with, what we would consider normal children that are born premature, that, with heart conditions or lung conditions, and they had to be put on that system. And so knowing that these kids, down in these tunnel systems, when they're multi-generationally bred, their skin is very thin. All their veins will be towards the surface. And a lot of times, like, they don't even have irises, it's just their pupils are very enlarged.
Like black-eyed children.
Yeah. So
these black-eyed children really are the kids from the tunnel, can you say? Or
yeah, they are. I've brought some of that out. So they anyway, though, I told them, I said, you can't use those ECMO machines because they were not having
the black-eyed children
kids to the surface. And I said, you got to kind of treat it like, mountain climbing or like scuba diving. If you bring those kids up too fast because they're, they've never been at the surface level, it's too much oxygen for the blood.
How fucking deep are you talking that they're going to get the fucking bends if you bring them up too quick? Bullshit.
So I know that the teams that were doing the rescues had to make arrangements and treat it.
We've never even been that deep.
Pressure units down in those tunnel systems and
hold on, Jesse, 1 second. Let me just clarify something. Were you talking to the teams that were going down there?
Some individuals, yes. I reached out because we had some incidences.
Wow. Okay, so you have firsthand knowledge of this then.
Yeah.
Wow. So I've heard rumors that these kids were being brought up and their organs were popping or something like that, and their skin was falling off because of the pressure. Does that?
Yeah, because, right? Yeah. Well, you've got the pressure, you've got the oxygen issue. They don't have, like, their bodies have never been up in the surface, and it's it really is comparable to if you had always been like a scuba.
The deepest hole we've ever produced is about 8 miles deep.
Scuba diver, you've got a lot of different elevation changes that you have to navigate or get accustomed to. So people initially, if they're just going down there, if the military was just going down there and bringing these kids up, they were dying, having horrific things happen to their organs because their organs aren't used to the elevation or the pressure.
So, like, for my audience and a lot of people that are may not be familiar with you or what's going on, they say to me,
yeah, that lower pressure on the surface rather than at the center of the earth, the lower pressure will pop them organs, heartbeat, because lower pressure always pops shit.
On mainstream media, they don't understand the war that's being fought underground and the infrastructure that's being taken out. Now, you can say with 100% certainty this is happening and we are winning. We are, quote unquote, winning this war on the tunneling. And
yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So, I can bring this out. About 5 years ago was when I first reached
exactly.
I'll just say that
exactly Viking King
that I work with, but I reached out with my test.
They didn't find it out until they got one child up top, and it was completely skinless, and all its organs had popped. It looked like a piñata that had been beaten open with no candy. But just to verify, they went ahead and did 2 more children. That way they had three of them that they could say, oh yeah, it looks like a pattern here.
And pretty much from the top down, gave them the structure, gave them the formulas for how the tunnel systems were built, the radius and how you could locate a nest from above ground.
Hold on.
Yeah, I'm tired of fucking winning. This is the worst winning I've ever had in my life. I'm losing everything.
Yes, I have. Yep.
What? You've been down there?
Including friends and family.
I had a training partner as a kid who was my protector. So he and I had figured out the formula when we were down in the tunnels. We used to have to count out time and steps to figure out, where we were at underground and where it was above ground. And so from that, we figured out this 15-mile radius where, they would build almost everything that they were using. It would have the same formula, where you'd have a Catholic church, you'd have a Masonic lodge, you'd have some sort of public support building like a school, a police office, a fire department. You'd have exits, and entrances to that tunnel system, which usually would be in a graveyard or a waterway, it'd be off a major highway for quick exits. So we had to learn the ins and outs of how these systems worked. So because it was built by the Jesuit Masons, the formula was always the same. So that was what part of the tangible evidence that I gave to these teams, along with the main thing I turned in, were the ritual walls in these tunnel systems. Not all of the tunnel systems, but primarily near the major training centers for kids who are, they call them hierarchy kids. You're born bloodline into the system. When you're 5 years old, you have to take your initial ritual. And when you do that, they have you dip your hand in blood and you put your handprint on one of these walls that are underground. And they're ritual walls to Moloch. And so you do that right before your first sacrifice that you participate in. So on those walls, you have over 200 years worth of handprints for every single person who's been involved in the system, who was born into it. So the location of those walls was what I turned in. And with that, they were able to get the fingerprints of every single person who was born into that bloodline system.
Oh, wow.
So,
so so what's happening with the flooding of the tunnels right now? Are they just, is it the White Hats? The White Hats are doing this? They're just flooding them right now to rid the filth or take away their power? What would
they were either blowing, now they're at the deeper levels. So, a while back we were seeing like a lot of fires that would be coming up through manholes, or certain buildings all of a sudden were having fires, particularly churches. So what was happening was that as they were clearing out these tunnel systems.
Yeah, well, it wouldn't be as significant as an effect, because when you're with water, basically you're getting the pressure of how much water is above you, right? That's a pretty significant effect because of how dense water is. When you're talking about air and you're moving towards down underground, you're moving closer to the center of gravity, so you're getting pressure from the air above you, basically, just like the water is. But air is much less dense, much less. It's not nearly as heavy, so it would still be an effect of increasing pressure, but it wouldn't be nowhere like fucking water is.
They were, the earthquakes and stuff. They were blowing up entrances and exits so that those systems could no longer be used. And then what I know this last month, they were into the deeper tunnel systems. Some of the cities, especially in the United States, so Texas is one of them, the aquifer goes all the way down to the ocean. So you've got these tunnel systems that they have built along the aquifer, where that aquifer from Texas goes all the way to Florida, also extends all the way out to the west coast to California. So they were clearing up those submarine tunnel systems, and there's one that's connected with the
for sure.
Is not even
DuckDuckGo will confirm whatever you want it to confirm.
They've got a dumb that's like an unmarked dumb there. So as they've gone through those, they have to clear out those systems of the water that's in them, so the submarines can't use them. So that's why, like in Chicago, people were seeing water spouting out like a geyser through the manholes, because there was a military submarine hidden base under there that was using a water access way. And I believe that one went all the way down.
That's so fucking retarded.
To Indianapolis, to Ohio area. So they've accessed a lot of, the system has utilized a lot of the different avenues of, I don't even know what to call it, but ground. We're just so used to the surface area ground.
That is a Frog News Network theory too. I'm sure he got it from someone else, but just saying, he said it that there's tunnels that go all the way under the Americas and through and from about everywhere into lakes and into like the Great Lakes and bigger lakes and near dams and shit like that, and that submarines travel underground, but they're in waterway tunnels all under the country.
And that's all that people really know is that in the air. But that's why the War of Law manual is so important, because it talks about, who has what rights within these territories, whether it's, on the surface level, whether it's below ground, or whether it's even deeper, like the military bases that are built on the seafloor underground,
Typically what causes the manhole stuff like that is rainwater runoff. Even if it's not raining in your city, it depends on where like your manholes are tied into, where your rainwater's tied into. I used to work at a water treatment plant and a wastewater treatment plant at different times, but at the wastewater treatment plant, you could literally drive into work, and if we had like a torrential rain, we had these big screw pumps. Instead of having like typical pumps, like you think of a pump that lifts water, like a little motorized pump or whatever, it was these two giant screws that turned on beside each other. And basically, like if you looked at a screw, the thread part of the screw, the threads picked water up. Well, they were kind of inefficient. They were old and kind of shitty. So they could pick up what they could, but what they couldn't, right? And that just built pressure down at the bottom of the screws. Well, pressure would slowly build and slowly build and slowly build. And if it had been like a torrential rain on the way coming into work, you could literally tell how close you were to work by the manholes, because you would see one that was just rattling, right? It was just shaking and water was coming up. The next one you got to, it might just be barely picking up out of the thing. And then the next manhole you got to, it might be like popping up. By the time you got to work, you'd have a manhole cover that was like 6 foot in the air, balanced on a stream of water. It was wild, but it's just water pressure. They're not blowing up secret submarine bases underground. That's not where that water is coming from. That still doesn't even explain what would cause the pressure to make it rise. Like if that secret marine base had been there the whole time, what's causing that water to rise up? Why wouldn't it just stay in the fucking tunnel?
Nobody owns that territory. So, it goes by occupying force. That's who has the rights while they're there. So they've had to use that manual or let me put it this way, bad guys basically wrote that manual so they have rights to this area territory that they're occupying. And, that's being combated because it's not real, true legal rights. Using it so they can enhance their threats. Trafficking.
It's mini bike. Shit is paint.
On the water and,
so the war that we're in right now, it's important to take out that infrastructure first, to take out those tunnels first.
Thank you for that, Mark.
Covertly. I mean, why can't, so this is like their power source, I guess you could say. This is like the evildoers or the Satanists, whatever. This is like this is where they derive power, right? In these tunnels, like through children, this may sound like a very dumb question, but what's the point of flooding them? Why flood them out? Why get rid of them? Why kill that infrastructure first before anything else? It seems like that's what we're doing first, right?
Yeah. Well, first they have to get control of those, because that's been the main way that these people have been hiding the evil that they're doing. So, if you kept that infrastructure, they could continue, like just say you go through, but then you move on to a different area, then they could still access and use that area. So as the military is clearing out these areas, going in, taking control, rescuing the children and the people who are there, who are being held captive, then they have to get rid of it so it can't be used again. So I think that's the main point, is they just don't want it used again.
And they could use this when the big, let's just say when the big arrests start, they won't have anywhere to hide, right?
Right. They won't have anywhere to hide. They won't have any of those modes of transportation.
So I've heard in Germany, in Germany and other parts of the world, the flooding has even become blood red.
Yes.
In certain parts, blood red, and
I'm sure
in Germany of children being washed out, like 600
red flooding.
I don't remember the exact town, but I guess that would make complete sense.
What is wrong with these people?
Are they kind of just chalking certain deaths up to collateral damage? Like, we have to clear them out, so we are going to lose some kids. We are going to lose life down there. We're going to have to just flood them anyway, because we're kind of in emergency mode right now. I mean, it seems like everything's coming down to the wire. And we're getting close. I mean, I keep telling everybody to fall, Jesse, because I'm not making predictions, but I'm just saying, it's with the way things going, I think we can all agree that this fall is going to be pretty nuclear.
Yeah, I that's on my time frame too. I believe that this fall we'll see quite a bit more happening. I know they've said that they were pretty close. The good teams were saying that they were just about done clearing everything out by
Shut up. July 4th. Between you all idiots and the stuff that's really going on, it's fucking us up. You guys make me want to not see fall.
Some of it they've had to go back through some of the areas, or they found
Jesus Christ
hidden dumps that haven't ever been registered. So then those areas they'll go back to. But they were telling me that by July 4th they were pretty much done with the main job.
What would be the next phase?
I think the next phase is going to include, the disclosure to the world.
July 4th, they're pretty much down. Sucks. This is April 17th, August 17th.
They've been starting to, drip the information. So, we've seen different witnesses starting to come forward, like Kevin Arnett, who is testifying and bringing forward the truths about all the schools in Canada, the private schools or the Catholic connected schools that have the mass grave deaths. So, the witnesses have started coming forward with the different testimonies. And, we've seen things like, Madison Marquette, who's talked about
oh my God,
tribunals she was at, and the churches, some of the churches and pastors that were involved.
They're on shows together all the time. That Right On Radio.
Drip and get out there. Even Task Force on Twitter has been putting up videos. Some of the ones that they've redone include some of excerpts from different videos that I put forward in a documentary with Sean Stone about adrenochrome and stuff. But they've put out videos that outline what it is, how it's been used. So if people are, really keeping their eyes open, the information is coming forward. My hope, what I've been hoping is that there will be, a day where they will just have this video, or, that they'll bypass, our phones, our media outlets, and they'll just play the videotapes, where from the testimony or from the tribunals with the witnesses.
Might be used, right? And that may be the route they go.
Yeah. And
they're going to play Madison Marquette. They're going to have her testify in person.
Overtaken some of those, let me think how to put it. The system had, where it was running everything, and
I want to every time I want to skip ahead, and I'm like, this is boring. Then she says something interesting right when I'm fixing to click.
But we've had confirmation that the new computer system, that's a quantum computer system, already has been turned on and is fully functional. So I believe that, those 10 days of darkness, I think they'll be shutting off the old system, and at that point completely going to the quantum system, VibeStat. But we've already had confirmations that VibeStat is up, and Trump actually put it into, I think it was like the last week or two, he announced that quantum system the last week or two when he was.
I've noticed his speeches are getting braver and more ballsier. You know what I mean? Like this last one, he said there is no 2022, there is no 2024. We fix this now. He wasn't saying that just a few months ago. It's almost like he's been keeping his foot off the pedal, and now he's starting to push down a little bit. So I think that's a good sign. It seems to me like they're getting ready to make some moves.
Yeah. I think it will be for full disclosure. Whether that will include, I have heard things.
Each episode is right around an hour, but I've got them sped up to 1.5 times speed. So
blue beam, that they may, make it look like there's an alien invasion. Trump may come flying in on a saucer. All those are possibilities. Do they have flying saucers? Absolutely. The military has that equipment. Is it from aliens? No. I give aliens another name. They're fallen angels. They're demonic spirits.
I've heard that. I talk to a lot of people, and they say, no, look how big the universe is. I'm like, listen, man, I've heard both sides. I've heard that they're demonic entities. They're fallen angels, like what you said. Then I've heard they're just from other, solar systems in the universe. But I am now leaning towards your view. I see them more as demonic entities, interdimensional beings. Because honestly, I really don't know what's out there. I have flat earthers come on my program. I have all different kinds of people come on my program, and I've never been to outer space. I don't know what's out there. I can look through a telescope and believe I'm looking at, but we don't really know. None of us really know, except what's taught to us in schools. That's been given to us, indoctrinating us. So I don't trust the system. And also, I always say the jury's out with me. So what you're saying is just as good an explanation as anybody else's. You believe they're following me. You believe they're
yeah. My job was to know how the system worked, to how the program worked. So, that was part of what I had to learn when I was at the bases, was how do the different programs work. And, part of my job included, knowing what people's spiritual gifts were and connecting them to the demonic spirits that also had the same spiritual gifts. So some of these programs, a lot of the MK Ultra that they use at the military bases, like Project Orion, Project Gemini, Epsilon and Delta and stuff like that, they, those people are more tangible. They're more, scientific. They're not inclined to spiritual, we'll just say spiritual things. These are people who they don't see or hear or feel in the spirit world. What they hear, see, and feel and sense is just in the physical world.
All right, I'm going to skip ahead. Now I'm bored.
And, so if they were required to attend that, they would know, if they're just a regular, coven witch, or if they're high priest or priestess, they would know who has to attend which rituals. So first, we're not seeing the magazine covers going up like they're supposed to.
Well, hold on, Jesse, hold on one second. That app, the Clubhouse app, have you heard of that?
Yeah.
There's a picture of the guy on there right now. I don't know if you can see him right there with his finger over his eye.
Okay, yeah.
That app. So what's he signaling? He's doing this.
Yeah, so that's that C can be a sign that the Masons would use for the Illuminati Brotherhood.
Okay. But what is that signaling? Anything?
The signals would be more like I've done a couple episodes on them, but like you'd see like like this, if it was like pointed like that, it'd be like the west quadrant. If it's like pointed up, it's north. If their hands are going down, it's south. If it's going both up and down, it means the north and the south quadrants. If they're doing both eyes, it would be both the east and west.
Oh, wow.
So all of that would be communicating. They would use the celebrities in those magazines to tell that. So like if they had.
That makes sense though, because look, think how easy it is to get a celebrity on a magazine cover to make the correct hand signal and then have that magazine cover printed and come out for like a month fucking later at least, maybe 90 days later, and then hope that the message is still accurate rather than sending a text. Because, I mean, sometimes text, people leave you unread. And magazines, that's much more. It's quicker. It only takes like 90 to 120 days to get in the market. You don't have to rely on anybody messing with it except for the editor and the photographer and the magazine cover and the person that you're trying to train to do the right signal. Everybody's going to see it except for all the people who don't read magazines anymore because everything's on the fucking internet. So yeah, like throw your cell phone away. Let's go to magazine signal tossing.
Johnny Depp on there, because he's a grand high priest. They would know that all the grand high priests would be required to attend that ritual. It wouldn't be for lower level members who are underneath that. Gosh. So they'd be communicating with that. So we're not seeing that communication happen. And then, basically since they have had some smaller rituals, but with the larger ones, the Lord literally stopped them October 2019. They were to have their rituals in October, and the Lord literally made the weather.
I know for a fact, like you can say, wait till you find out it's all true. I know for a fact it's not all true. I've already disproved some of this. I have people in some of these military units they claim. I know for a fact some of it's not all going to be true. You might have a gotcha on the something so fucking stupid that no one even cares about. But I know for a fact it's not all true.
So bad that they could not have it, and normally they would just those weather complications, they would just go underground, but they didn't. They literally put out an announcement on their channels and canceled all rituals. So then we saw things like Bohemian Grove, which was an area they gathered a lot. That website canceled. And
are you serious? Discernment Files
down, and they directed everybody who had questions to about they just said questions, but it was about rituals or stuff, to contact the Cathedral of Luxembourg, which the Cathedral of Luxembourg was Notre Dame. So then what happened to Notre Dame?
On fire.
Burned down.
Right. Yeah. Wasn't there an article or a magazine out with Michelle Obama watching the fire with her glasses or something? Yeah. So, I mean, that's all. So it burnt down. And then.
Right. So that was some of the ways that they communicated where those rituals were or were being held. So, whether the burning of that was part of a ritual or not, I really can't say, but so we've been following all of this stuff, and their big rituals have not been happening.
He served on the television show Charmed with Rose, but his name is not revealed in any media. What? Okay. I'm still looking for something on her husband.
Their normal means of transportation to these rituals have been cut off. The flying has not been a free-for-all. Then, a lot of their ways of transportation on the waterways, that's been more heavily monitored. And, they pretty much have just been grounded all at home. And that makes it harder to perform those rituals when you're not in community. So,
we are winning.
Yeah.
Would you say we are winning this?
I would, yes.
And would you say that now they're having to speed up the process of the New World Order because they're losing?
I think they're purposely trying to speed it up because they want it to be on their time and they want control rather than God's time.
Wow. But they are at a weakened state. You can say right now that they are at a weakened state.
Oh, absolutely. People can watch the inauguration. That was one of the biggest jokes I've ever seen. The inaugurations are, one of their ways of proclaiming their position and their headship. And, growing up in the system, you don't make mistakes when you're doing a ritual. It doesn't happen. The consequences are really dire if you make any mistakes. So, how many.
Inauguration is a ritual.
It is. Yeah.
And that was so what we watched there was basically a flop.
It was a total flop. Yeah. I mean, there were so many mistakes in there that I was like, Satan has killed people for far less mistakes. And I was like, you got to be kidding me. These people, their spiritual power is gone. They've practiced their whole lives for those moments. And to have as many mistakes as they had, you're like, there's no way that they can be in control or winning. This has to be a show or a movie, because they would not make those mistakes. I mean, these people are absolutely perfect. They've trained for some of those things. Like I said, 20 to 40 years they've practiced to be ready for those moments. So the precision, you have specific movements, you have certain positions you're going to stand in, you have a certain way you're going to walk. And even the sitting and the getting up from sitting, the procession in, the procession out, all of that is perfectly timed and is part of the ritual.
Wow.
And you didn't see any of that. So it's, I was just looking at it kind of like, man, that there were so many mistakes. That was the funniest thing I've ever seen in my life.
That's just crazy. I mean, you're making this, it makes so much sense now talking to you. And I really appreciate this interview, because now I'm just like, I'm grasping it more and more. And I'm like, this is so incredible. Like this world that people are just not familiar with, that have no idea exists. And it's so organized. And now you're saying that, I mean, yeah, it makes sense. So we're taking out that infrastructure. We're taking out all the stuff that's happening behind the curtain. And then soon we're going to, what I'm guessing here is we go public with everything.
Yeah. That's what
comes to the forefront.
That's right. That's what I think has to happen. And that even goes along with scripture. It says that all things will be laid bare, that the Lord will reveal all things that have been in the dark and bring them to the light. So, I believe
we're looking at some tough times ahead though, regardless. I mean, this is a fight. We obviously know this is good versus evil. Nobody's going to give up easily at all. So I have just a few more questions to ask you. And one of them is, who your thoughts are on, what your thoughts are about certain individuals in politics right now. Like, let's say DeSantis. I've told people to watch out for him, because I see CNN endorsing him. Whenever I see whenever I see a network like CNN endorsing anybody, I have questions. And what's your thoughts on DeSantis?
Yeah, so I'll put it that this is my personal opinion, just from experience. I really question him as well. It's only going to turn out one of two ways. I saw some of the behind the scene involvement with Field McConnell, Marine Field McConnell, who is a federal whistleblower and was falsely imprisoned because
Field McConnell
going on in Florida. They arrested him in Wisconsin and held him illegally for 134 days in jail. And then when we called, for a federal audit, they extradited him to Florida, where they then made him illegally pay bail because they had no proper arrest warrant in the first place. And then they, released him under house arrest. So, in that, I did not really see that DeSantis, working for this federal whistleblower. So either he's not a good guy, or he's been a good guy who's really hiding himself and, somehow got fielded there, and he's really not under house arrest and they have him under protection. But it's only one of those two ways. I think that there's more to suggest that he's really not a good guy than the other direction.
Yeah, I'm keeping my eyes on him. I just I'm like, okay, gig is up, man. Once you're outside the matrix, you see everything for what's going on. You can't pull fast one on the people that are awake. And I saw that and I was like, okay, something's up with this guy. I've heard, and this is all just, I'm just putting this out there. I don't know for sure. It's just whispers that we're looking at late fall for things to come to the fruition of all this, anywhere from October to January. Would you say that's about right?
Yeah. We can support that too. Even during his presidential run, we had Biden was making comments about, it's going to be a bleak winter. That's a very special phrase that they say. It does go back to a war, so it signifies that, plans and plots to cause something to happen during that wintertime that will put the people under great duress. We saw some of that even happening this winter, where they were doing what I believed was testing in certain areas. So, like Texas was one of those areas where the electrical companies literally shut off the grid, and you had hundreds of thousands of Texans that, the weather was so cold, it was, 1 degree or lower, and they were left with no power, no nothing, and had to survive. There were many who were lost. So we saw different areas. Then they were shutting off, other states, even like the Dakotas. They shut off the power and said, oh, well, you have to share. So Texas has power. And they were doing, load sharing things, which is something they've done in South Africa and other countries. But what are they really doing with that electricity when they're shutting it off? We have an unlimited amount. People could have it for free. We don't even need an electrical grid. We don't need to contain or monitor the electricity.
Oh God.
So
it's just free electricity that just travels everywhere. We need no grid. You don't need a wire. it just appears in your house. Madness.
It's a way that they're controlling, and they're diverting that energy for other things like the dumb bases or the different operations or things that they're running, and making it so that the people can't be anywhere except for at home, because it's so cold, so that people aren't eyewitnesses of what their nefarious things they're doing. That's what I believe is happening. So I think this last winter was a test, and it was signaled when Joe gave that comment about the bleak winter, and we heard Trump comment to him, and he said, no, it won't be a bleak winter. We are not going to have a bleak winter. So, I believe that the good guys are aware that they're already making preparations to help people, to have military in places, if things do happen.
We're so close.
Have help.
I think everyone feels it. We're so close. And I see this, I see everything just coming to a head this winter. I mean, I just do. I think that if you had to guess, Jesse, I'd like to get a little prediction here. What percentage would you say is won so far for the good guy? How close are we? How close are we to wrapping this up? Or is this going to just take is this am I completely misstepping here? Is this going to take months or years?
No, I'll say my prediction and my hope is that it will be months. I was told that by July 4th, they were done or almost done. So I think that we're close to the final things. And yeah.
One last question before I let you go. Mars.
It just depends on how long you can keep moving the goalpost.
Is that Zion like Utah or like?
Nope. I was told that by July 4th, they were done or almost done. So I think that we're close to.
Yeah, we're right here. It's only been a month and a half longer. So here we are.
Mars is code for Zion.
Yeah.
What the hell does that mean? Is that Zion like Utah or like?
No. So the system has underground cities, several of them. If people want to, get it straight from their source, you can read the book Initiates of the Flame. You can find copies of that book on YouTube for free. It's called Initiates of the Flame. So that would be a book that somebody who's going.
This video was from. I'll tell you when I minimize it.
In the system.
Here we'll do it now.
The Order of the Golden Dawn. They
July 28th.
Reflect on that book, and it talks about several. They call it, ancient.
So at the time, she was saying, I was told they were done on July the 4th. This was 2 weeks after. Now we're almost a month after.
Cities or mythical cities, like Shambhala, Ragnarok.
Over a month after.
And, they present it as you've got these mythical cities that have existed in different cultures throughout time. But really, as you reflect more, you come to the point where you realize that this book is telling you about some of the underground cities that exist, and it tells you their locations and how you would enter into the city. They do this all through code in that book. So Zion
makes sense.
Is also nicknamed Mars. For each of these underground cities, there's one in the U.S., and then they also have one in another place. They call them mirror cities. So they'll have two of them. So Zion,
of course,
or Mars, the locations for that are Area 51, and then Israel is where the other one is. And they're large enough that they have actual pyramids under there. So there's 3 that are under
actual pyramids in their deep underground military base city.
Area 51.
Who can believe all this shit?
So anyway, we had seen code going up. We did a.
How many people have fucking cell phones in their pockets nowadays? And every cell phone has a fucking camera. And nobody can show me irrefutable evidence of this.
The Right on Radio episode. It's got a picture with Elon Musk looking like he's sitting on a throne with Mars as the backdrop, and he's got 2 Akita dogs.
Got it.
And so I decoded that, and I had directed people, because during that week when that picture went up, there were mass arrests that were happening, particularly in the Chicago, Indianapolis, Ohio areas. And so what was happening was that there were codes that people in the system were sending out. They were directing those who were trying to evade arrest to some of these underground cities. And
wow.
So it was kind of like, hey, you want to know where the rats are? They're all in Mars. So, I'd look over in Area 51 or in Israel, are there any mass amounts of flights going to Israel? And so anyway, Task Force put out a thing that the next day that said Area 51, boom. So I think that we were right on about that.
Wow. So they were signaling to people to tell them where to hide.
Yes.
Because they're mass arrests.
Yep.
And mass arrests are still happening, correct? Obviously.
Yeah, they are.
But they haven't gone public with them yet. They're waiting for the big characters to be taken down, right? They want to do that publicly, right? Am I right in saying that?
Right. Yeah.
So they've got to know. The big players have got to know. Like, oh shit! Like they're coming for us. It's coming. They can't sleep in it.
Yeah, they're scared. They're trying to go wherever they can, but they're I've brought out several of the locations of these underground cities. So, they're kind of running out of places to hide.
Well, Jessie, man, this was a good one. Can we do a part 3 soon?
Absolutely.
No, I'm sure it was.
And you just so much information, and I like to dig deep, man. Like people just stay surface level stuff, and I'm like, that's not where it's at. It's here. This is where it's at. So, can you tell people where they can reach you?
Yeah, my main show that I'm on each week is rightonradio.podbean.com. We also are sometimes on YouTube. We got our second strike, so this week
we're gonna go to the very last video and get through skipping it through it. Give me just a second. I'll get it up.
Shows that I'm on there. And then I have books that are on sale on Amazon.com. His Kingdom Comes in Power and The Anointing.
The most recent one was from yesterday, okay? And it should have all been wiped up by now. It should have been done.
All right, folks. Nino'sCorner.tv. I am here with Jessie Serboter once again. One of my favorite guests for sure. She takes us down the deep and dark path of the backside of all this stuff that's going on politically, what's going on behind the curtain that people don't see. And it's she was raised. Well, you were going to be groomed to be a part of the occult, correct?
Correct. Yeah. And in the position, one of the top positions as the Queen Mother of Darkness.
And you got out very early.
Correct, at age 10.
Did you know by the age of 10 that you were being groomed for that, or did you find that out later and say, oh, that's what I was being groomed for? Or did you know at a very young age that you were already being groomed for that?
Yeah, I was specifically chosen. So there was certain tests that I went through, and then one of the things.
Somebody shared the CIA heart attack gun, and talking about Jaco or whatever. That was a little bit different, but yeah, there technically the CIA does claim that they have a heart attack gun, which fires a little piece of ice with some poison in it that induces a heart attack, and most of the time in people and leaves nothing but a small red dot. They actually have it on a Colt on a 1911 frame.
I had 7, I guess we could call them teachers, who their job was to, in the system, they'd
come out during congressional testifying.
At those higher levels, what you're supposed to do. So, they decided.
That's right, Viking King.
And everything, and then the enemy Satan himself outright told them what position I was supposed to be in. So I knew at age 4.5 what I was chosen for.
I've seen some of your videos, and like you have these stories that involve Hillary Clinton and a few other personalities that we all know so well. And you kind of tell them like so nonchalant, like, oh, no big deal. They were just, I sit there with my jaw dropped going, the stories that you tell, are pretty damning.
1,000 Twinkies into your arteries.
Wicked
I don't
stuff.
think so.
Like, it's just like, no big deal. Walk in the park. Were you witness to a lot of these seances and rituals and
crimes?
What is it?
I said crimes.
Yes. Did you witness this stuff?
I did. Yeah, I was actually present at many of those things. All the things that I talk about were experiences where I was right there. So, I've talked about like HRC, and I call them the Northern Boys. So you have individuals like Carrie, Quayle, Cheney. You've got the Orrs. I call them Pensy Wency just because I like that name, and Boo, who is John Brennan, and then Aquino. A lot of those individuals, the earlier mentioned ones, were sailing partners with family members of mine. So they would participate in like the Mackinac race in Chicago, the sailboat races. It was a typical thing. Like they would come over to our house for brunch, and on Sundays they had like this book club meeting. So they literally would bring these books to Kill a Mockingbird, and that was the cover of the story that they could freely talk about Mockingbird. Then I'd ask questions, and it would be like, oh, well, this is part of our book club. But even at age 5, I knew that you haven't read a book if the cover's not bent. So all their books were pristine and in perfect order. I can remember we had Brennan staying at a house just a few doors down from ours, and we were not allowed to walk past the sidewalk in front of that house. Like we had to like cross the street, then walk past, then a few houses down, we could cross back over and walk the rest of the way to school. And I would ask like, why can't we just walk past the house? And, I would be told that it was because he was Boo Radley. They would use characters from the book. So that's where I came up with the nickname Boo for him, and, always called him Boo because that's what I was told. And so, yeah, crazy stuff like that. But, the deeper levels, yeah, I was,
crazy stuff you just made up, you mean? Yeah, that is crazy as fuck.
HRC, Huma Abedin.
Hold on, time out. Have you seen those videos?
I have, yes.
You have seen the videos of Hillary Clinton. Is she the one that cut the child's face off, or was it the doctor, or was there a surgeon there? I've heard different things.
Yeah, it said that there are 2 of them. From the one that I saw, it was her, and she did, those were things that I grew up knowing that everybody had their signature ways that they like to kill. So, I could identify.
Here we are again.
I'd seen her probably kill at least 30 other children that same way in different circumstances.
So, hold on. This is going fast. You're saying you've seen her kill 30 other children in that way?
Yes, in different environments. Some of the ones that I saw, they would be at some of the elite socialites' houses.
So, Jessie, hold on. I'm sorry. This is new to me. Okay, I understand that you're, okay, but hold on. Are you just numb to this? Are you just completely like this? Just doesn't. You've seen it so often that it's just like, oh, Tuesday follows Monday. You're talking about it like we're just walking down memory lane. And I mean, you have been witness to this.
I'm walking down memory lane. I said yes. I'm walking down memory lane. I tend to just connect with it as the story and not at the emotional level.
Because it is a story. It's a story you made up.
Other choices to cope with what I was seeing. I had to learn. Basically the way of coping was just to accept that that's the way it was,
Okay, so let me follow up with this then. So you're out speaking freely now. How come they're not coming after you for like what you're saying? Because this is like damning information.
They have been coming after me this entire time, but there's also things that are set into place for future events that, like, once you're in the system, even though the Lord gets you out, the enemy still has you in the system. So I don't know how to describe that other than that they still have future end time rituals that they plan to have me at, even though I'm out and I've said no. So it's kind of a give and take. Like, they would come and try to retrieve me, but the Lord protects from that. They won't kill me because these are rituals that they have been preparing for over 40 years. So, they've had very specific people who are supposed to perform certain things, and they don't have replacements or backups. It was what I spent probably 7 years going through from the time I was 4 and a little beyond age 10, where they would constantly be trying to prepare for those events. Some of it was, things I would receive in letters after I'd gotten out, some of that prep, but this is stuff they've been planning for a very long time.
You've been training to do these rituals since you were a very small child.
That's right. Yep.
Of course. 4.5. Ritual training as a child. How hard is it to teach a fucking kid anything, much less how to carry out very particular, very specific ritualistic sacrifices and procedures that have to be done the right way, or they don't summon the demon so it'll beat another person.
I did, yes.
Could you tell?
She even said if you do it wrong, then Satan and the demons come up and literally beat you. That's what she said, because they said they used to do them wrong on purpose to take out issues they had with some other people in the coven or whatever.
Tell me a little bit about those.
Yeah, some of the ones that I've talked about were, like, one in specific dealt with the 12-year-old boy initiation rites. The system has, for those who are born in, when you're a boy and you reach age 12, you will take your what they call your first blasphemy. And the way that they set up...
Is Dave watching TikTok while she's talking? What was that in the background?
You got to remember, like, the initial name of the system is the Brotherhood. So they're all about setting up things that, cause that brotherhood bond to happen between people. So you end up with these, what we call circles, where you have everybody's a part of the Brotherhood system. You acknowledge the other circles, but you make your vows and you're beholden to those who are in your circle. So, for example, Hillary Clinton, Quayle, Cheney, Pence, even Obama, you had Gaddafi, other individuals, a lot of the Vanderbilts, they are all in the same circle. So that means that, they participate in rituals together. They witness each other's crimes. They are bound by duty to cover up those crimes. And if anybody's caught, it's their job to get them out and, to do whatever it takes to ensure that person has no consequences.
You can send that to the House of Windsor.
With the blasphemy, the first blasphemies, you have the boys at age 12, they're going to enter into that covenant relationship with whichever circle they're chosen to be.
Even Jesus is trying to influence her connection, slow it down.
So the ones that I witnessed were for, there was, we'll say 6 12-year-old boys, and they all became part of what we'll just call that northern circle. It doesn't mean geographically that all of them are from northern quadrants. That was just what I came to identify these individuals as. So those 12-year-old boys went through, like Hughes put up that picture under Belt Pool. That actually is like, if it was not in that setting, it would be a place where you would go and clean your boats. But if people look at that house, it's in the middle of a property, there is no water. They don't keep boats there. So that was what they used as the ritual area for those 12-year-old boys. They would do, it's like a 3-day ritual, usually happens during the summer solstice. So it starts off with all these boys go to what they say is a camp. In the camp, they do a lot of night games where the girls are trained in these camps to be very alluring and to, we'll just say, really get the boys thinking about promiscuous stuff. After they're done of 2 nights of that, then you have the 3rd night, which is when everybody from that circle will gather. They hang the 12-year-old upside down, like with ropes under his arm. And from that, like in the pool, I saw that they were like where that ladder area was, and the 12-year-old would be hung there. And then around the sides, they hung several other children. Usually it was between 10 to 13 other children that were expendable children because they'd be killed in this ritual. The vow then includes that basically everybody in that circle, the adults, gang rape the child through every orifice. And as they're doing that, they're telling the child to deny Jesus Christ.
Why is that so important to deny Jesus Christ? Why do they make that always a major point in these rituals, right?
Right. Because they want the child to identify with Satan or Lucifer and to proclaim that they're their own God. So it's kind of a renunciation of Jesus Christ. And, they proclaim that they themselves are gods and have the ability to ascend to the highest level of knowledge through the brotherhood system. And so part of the rape is, they're participating in doing sex magic. So beyond making their vows with those individuals, they're also making their vow to Lucifer and all of the...
That's what I call just normal love making, the old sex magic.
Spirits that, these people who are part of the circle are all witches, warlocks, high priestess, and, the ones that I knew engaged in black magic. So, to do that black magic,
Right, you're not part of the Dark Mother's cult of the House of Horrors, are you? They seem to be just as into sodomy as you are.
Basically make pacts and vows with demonic spirits that give them abilities and powers and supernatural knowledge in whatever areas they may be seeking it. So part of that rape is to give access points to that child, to the demonic spirits that are connected to other adults in the circle. Then, after that.
Of course I call it sex magic. Why do you think I say ta-da at the end and then I disappear?
There's a whole bunch of different blasphemous things that they do beyond the rape and that. This is the first time like that child, they've grown up in the system. They may have experienced already, being raped or being used for sex magic with people who were over them or handling them. But that ritual is the first time that they will perpetrate sexual acts on others. So the other kids that are there, they will aggressively, have sex with, and then
it's very disturbing how easy they are. How easy. I'm trying to make jokes to kind of lighten it, but it's weird how easily they can talk about this in such detail.
And that's
very weird.
Because it just everything is very graphic and a mess. So with that picture that was released by Q, there's a walkway that's up above. That's where me and my proctor and my training partner were standing watching these rituals with different 12-year-olds that I witnessed. So those.
Were you protected through all this, or did you obviously you had to go through these rituals that you had to take the abuse as well?
I did not get the abuse because of my position, but I had to watch, or it was like observational abuse. I had to make decisions. I was supposed to kill or ritually sacrifice. When I didn't, then they would kill a child or a defector or somebody right in front of me. So every decision, that I made would come at the cost of somebody's life.
How many children have you seen killed?
My proctor, just from my proctor,
easy now.
Because of me refusing to take life, I witnessed over 1,000 a month.
Okay.
She just said that's voyeurism. Yes, it is. I wish her proctor's last name was Pepper. It'd be Proctor Pepper. That'd be funnier. But she just said she witnessed 1,000 children killed a month. Because the position that my proctor was in, we would probably 1,000, at least 1,000. I think the FBI needs to talk to you, lady.
All the other people who I saw kill children.
So when you see Hillary's videos, that's like, seen it before, no big deal type thing.
It's not that it's no big deal. It's like, yes, I can identify that that's the way she would kill, So, or the reasons behind, because I would have to be taught those different methods, and observe that happening. So, it's like, why do they torture the children with the hot water beforehand? That's to loosen the
Just because you said sex magic.
Just because you said sex magic. J. High Ashbury, the tip into the cult. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
The skin so that they can skin them easier.
Hold on a
So
second.
all of
Hold
these
on.
things.
You can't make that up.
Yeah.
You can't make that up. They would put hot water on their skin so they could take it off easier.
No, they literally would run a scalding hot bath or put the kids in a scalding hot shower where they couldn't get out and would, run or have them in that hot water and then take them out so they could do that.
The kids would be screaming, and that in essence, that would pump up more adrenaline, right? That they would use.
Right.
And then so they put the kids in. I mean, a lot of my audience probably is not going to be able to hear this. I'm having a hard time hearing this.
Yeah, I can't. There's days that I can't even think about, like I can't even speak about my kids thinking that I've like abandoned them or something. I get choked up. To just speak this plainly about it, you've got a full disconnect, and clearly there's none of those things that like anchors that bring you back. Like with my PTSD, there's stuff that I can talk about, like equipment and shit, that I don't have any connection to, and I can easily talk about it. But then there's other things, and it might be like a certain weapon or a smell or a place or a name or blah, 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 and it like anchors me back to that horrific event. And when I speak about it, it may not even seem like it has anything to do with it, but it makes me extremely upset. That's why it's hard to talk about like current world events and shit that are going on overseas. So like weird shit, like somebody might say red shirt and be talking about somebody's red shirt, and somebody red shirt, blah blah blah, this date, this happened, and go all the way back to that memory, even though you never even vocalize it. But the fact that she has not only this disconnect, but nothing's bringing her back to these times when she was a scared little girl and putting her back in that state of mind, it doesn't fucking add up.
Yeah.
They would put them in the shower and scalding hot. Man, dude, this is crazy. So and then the kids would get the skin would get what, like they easily peel. You could peel it off type thing. What do they do with the skin?
Not necessarily peel it off, but it depends on what their purpose was. You had some sick individuals like HRC who would use it as a taunt against the Lord and would wear it in the ritual and things like that. Other people like Gloria Vanderbilt,
there's got to be something out of this stuff that she was saying that would put her back into the mindset she had as a fucking 8-year-old girl or whatever. And I'm sure she wasn't handling this easy.
She had a whole taxidermy room underneath her stables, and she would taxidermy those that she killed, or she would take pieces of their skin and make these little dolls for all of her dollhouses with their real skin and hair, and she would use that in her divination and black magic witchcraft.
And you're not worried at all about these people coming after you saying these things? I mean, or are they in that much of deep shit right now where they can't fight these many battles?
They're in deep. Yeah, I brought this out about. I started about 4 years ago sharing these stories with our good guys who are going down into the tunnels doing the rescues. And one of the other things that the first thing that they wanted was tangible evidence, and it's like, well, you don't understand. Like, there's nothing. The majority of the deaths I saw, there is nothing left. It's like they have this process where, if I describe it quickly.
Yeah, I agree with you guys on sex magic. I tell them around all the time to hold my magic stick, and then she's like, your wand, and I'm like, no, my penis. It usually works. That's a good pickup line if you need to use it.
Basically, every expendable child, that's killed in ritual, first they're, used sexually to make the system money. Then they sell, to the highest bidder for the ritual killing. Then that bidder can choose to pay more money to keep, parts of that child for trophies. Usually what they will do is, all the Catholic churches where, I witnessed a lot of these individuals would use the catacomb areas or underground areas around the Catholic churches. All of those have incinerators. So I witnessed those incinerators being used to turn, the ashes of those who were killed into diamonds. And then there would still be some ashes remaining after that, and that they would sell to our food companies. So it would go into different parts of our food. So
they would,
when I was
the
asked,
children into diamonds, you told me also, right?
Yeah.
Not today, Satan.
What I observed usually was that they would use the incinerators to create the diamonds, and then either they could keep that as a trophy and they would wear it on their rings or on jewelry that they would have made with those diamonds, or they would sell it as specialized diamonds and people would pay millions of dollars for them.
Can I ask you why? I mean, this has probably been going on for thousands of years, right? I mean, it's not just some new thing that just happened these last few decades. This has been going on for thousands of years, right? As long as humanity has been on this planet, right?
Right. And it all goes to, they, at the core, they're operating under scripture. Part of that process was showing the extent of their reign. So I've done several shows, like the big reveal on the Reveal Report, where I break down, I show how, our government symbols, our city symbols, that those actually spirit or any person who's high level in the system, when they go to a city or a government building, they're going to understand what demonic spirit has dominion over that building, over that organization. So I've broken some of that down to show, the reality of how this is really working and how unaware we are of what's really going on. And so, as we become aware of those things, scripture tells us that we have the ability to rebuke these evil spirits, and we have the ability to take away their false authority over the areas where they're at. And we have the ability to sow, righteousness and goodness into those areas and remove the wickedness. So that comes first. And as you fight for that in the spirit, then it begins to manifest in the physical, where, these men and women who have spent hours in prayer and spent hours preparing for this spiritual battle, because they're not just, going down in those tunnels and fighting other men and women. Yes, there's other men and women who are evil, but what's behind that evil? You have a whole spiritual force. You've got these demons that are connected to these people, and that's what these good guys are having to fight. So,
you're saying when they go down those tunnels, do they actually see entities, like demonic entities, or are they just people?
My guess is that they have seen some things.
Okay.
Yeah.
So special forces versus Satan in the tunnel.
And is that why now they're flooding these
I
tunnels?
wonder if Satan responds to like an AR.
I was in Washington, D.C. get flooded, and I talked to citizen Richard journalists who told me that, man, this never happens here. Are they flooding out the tunnels right now?
What they've said is that, they've gone through a lot of these systems. We've talked about that it's a 3-layer tunnel system. You've got first the tunnels that the city works, the sewers use. Then the second layer is the system that's connected to the dumb bases that the military uses. Then the deepest level are the older ancient tunnel systems that usually only the protectors of the elite knew those systems. And, they've never been mapped. They were, every generation, they were handed down through the family lines, through route memory. So these people, they know their way through those. Even they don't even need a light or anything. Like, they can find their way in the dark if they need to. But with those deeper levels, they've given people, like, they've gone in, they've got all the kids that they could find. Then they've given people the chance, like, are you going to come out and surrender, come out with the captives, or are you going to die? So those, I guess, that choose not to come out, they're just flooding it. And of course, then they're drowned, and everything that remains is brought up to the surface.
Yeah, I mean, she's not worried about self-incriminating herself because there's no crime that she ever witnessed or was part of or around. Who the fuck's going to believe any of this?
So the good guys are winning.
I believe so, yes.
Gene Decode was telling me about, he was showing on the map on all the tunnels and earthquakes that are happening across the globe. And these bases or whatever, tunnels and deep underground military, they go miles and miles and miles down, right? I mean, they're like, he was telling me that the earth is like a honeycomb, basically intrinsic within really elaborate tunneling systems.
Yeah, they are.
But that's not true, right? Like, you've seen excavations take place. You've seen fucking subways go. You've seen fucking things built underground. Elon Musk is building fucking underground freeways to take care of traffic, the Boring Company. And they never just accidentally hit a base.
I would agree with that. And it goes throughout the whole earth. So.
And would you say every politician that has served at a high level has been involved in this type of ritualistic, these ceremonies and these, as far back as when? All since time began, or just the last few presidents, or are they all involved?
It was happening. It was happening with different leaders of the different nations. It goes all the way back to the very biblical beginnings, where God called Abraham out of the land of Canaan because what were the Canaanites doing? They were engaged in these horrific ritual practices. It uses terms like that they would sacrifice. They would make their children walk through the fire for Molech and Baal, who are demonic spirits. So it goes all the way back to that time. Even they were Israel. During the time of Ahab and Queen Jezebel, who was from Babylon, they were engaged in cannibalism. They were engaged in horrific, forms of witchcraft, black magic. Even King Solomon, we like to think that,
of course, they are.
Gave him wisdom, that he was a good guy, but he wasn't. He wrote the book, about naming 72 demonic spirits. Not only that, but the keys of into those books, they teach you how to summon and invoke those spirits. So, what was wickedness and sin. The other thing was how the tunnel systems, they were all built by individuals throughout the centuries who, were Masons. Satan is very precise. All of the rituals, everything that he demands is done with precision. So, a lot of these cities, a lot of the above ground things were built very precisely for a reason. So I've done some shows with Good Dog where we talked about the Frank Lloyd Wright houses. Frank Lloyd Wright was in the system. My family, paid him along with 6 other financial backers to build the city of Chicago and to build up the areas where he put his houses. The houses were used as auction houses in the system. But as you have each design is very specific. If you're a Mason who, not just like a level 1 through 3, we're talking above level 33. If you walk into a city, first thing you're going to see as you enter that city is the symbol of the city. That city is going to tell you what demonic spirits have dominion. It's also going to tell you what sins or what major Masonic orders are governing that city. Then as you drive further into the city, you're going to start to see the architecture and the houses. Everything about the buildings are going to tell, that, they call them brothers, what brother's house they can go to for hospitality, what brother's house they could go to if they want sexual things, what brother's house they can go to if they want ritual or consumption things.
What?
And just even looking at the buildings is going to tell them what
this
they
is
need
highly,
to know.
highly organized. It's very organized.
It's so organized. Yeah. And so it's just a matter of being able to read and decipher what they have organized. They've tried to keep it hidden knowledge from the public, but as it's brought forward, as it's been brought forward, then, we're able to understand and know how to take our enemy down. They knew then where they could figure out where the nests were, where the rings were.
So symbology was their downfall.
It was, absolutely. Yeah.
So by flooding the tunnels and blowing them up, have we interrupted their rituals and hence their power? I mean, we've got a leg up on them now, right? Because we have been blowing up the tunnels and flooding them. So we've, in a sense, interrupted their power, right? I mean,
absolutely. I mean, the first one, all the years that I've been alive and before that, high-level Grand High Priestess Lori Cabot Kent, she would hold her Grand Witches Ball every single year, every October in Salem, Massachusetts. October of 2019, their rituals were completely canceled. Usually if the weather's bad, they'll be inside or under.
That's what I would, just cancel them.
The Lord made it.
That
so
makes
they
sense.
could not do any rituals at all.
So that took away their power throughout the coming years, right?
It took away their power. Even upcoming rituals like end time ritual events. April 24th was a huge one. That was supposed to be the last of a series of 5 rituals that were supposed to take place to prepare the Antichrist for things that he's supposed to do. Are they absolutely necessary for him to rise and do his job? No. They're basically technicalities. It's just what the enemy wants done. But that last 5th ritual did not happen. So it didn't happen. The people who needed to be there to perform that ritual were not present.
That's insane.
So there's been a lot of things. Go ahead.
A lot of this New Age religion, you your own God, they preach a lot of this, in the New Age movement. Is that Satanism in itself?
Yeah, at the roots of it, it comes out of a lot of Hall and Aleister Crowley and other occultic leader teachings. So, people have to really look at those teachings and look at the root of where they come out of. And you'll find that all of them are connected. You can find those ideals and philosophies in these occultic writings and books.
Am I right in saying that things are now, I've kind of done a full circle, I've had my tarot cards read back in the day. I visited that a little bit and it just didn't resonate with me. I was like, this is, whatever. And then now, everyone's their own God, the manifestation, this and that. I know there's a lot of truth to it, but now I just look at things as I've circled back to things are either holy or demonic. Am I right in saying that?
I believe so, yeah. I would. Yeah. And I would encourage people, don't believe you lose your kingdom rights and authority if you believe that you are your own God. The number one way that gets our rights and authority is by claiming that we are unclean. If we're in that unclean status, then he has a foothold and he has temporary domain and authority to rule in those foothold areas. Scripture tells us that to be righteous, we have to be in a right relationship with God, meaning that if there's any sin or things that, God has declared as sin in our lives, if that is unconfessed, then we're in that unclean status. So, what was Satan's pride? His pride was saying, I am God. So if you're proclaiming that same thing and you're in pride, you may feel like you're in control and ruling your life, but in actuality, you've just given Satan full 100% control to have dominion and rule of your life and over everything in it. And what is his goal? It's to steal, kill, and destroy.
Right. And you hear so many people saying that this whole New Age thing is I'm my own God. I manifest my reality, which is, yes, that's true. But I believe that I put that all away because that's very tempting. And I say, I humbly come before God and Jesus Christ. That's my savior. Jesus Christ, my savior. And I do as God calls me to do. And that's it now. I don't even go visit that other crap. I don't talk to people that do the tarots anymore. Nothing. I'm just straight holy or demonic, pick a lane. And I'm going with Jesus Christ. That's what I'm doing.
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree more. We have to choose. And really there are only 2 choices. It's either you're allowing Satan to have control and he's your God, or you have the Lord Jesus Christ as your God. And you don't get any additional rights and authorities that you want in the long run being under Satan's control. I've known people who, some of my teachers, Lori Cabot Kent, Michael Carcock, even the other Mothers of Darkness, these people have served Satan for 60, 70 years. George Soros, how many years? He served him close, into his 80s. Some of them have served 90 years. In the end, what does it come down to? It comes to that moment when the reality, their physical bodies. We don't get to take anything with us when we leave this earth. And, what is the final state of your soul?
Something happened to chat.
There's only 2 options. If you serve Jesus, you're cleansed, you're forgiven, and pass into heaven. And if you haven't done that, then guess what? You get to figure out how evil the enemy is, which the majority of these people already know. There's a reason they're called trapped and captives. Even those the 5% who really relish in this evil and wickedness and want to do it, even they are not fans of Satan because he is a cruel, cruel taskmaster.
This is the end of it here, guys.
And, he said to my face when I was a kid, he, said, first I will kill the expendables, those he doesn't need. He said, then I will kill the Christians and then I will kill them all. So, he has no loyalty to anybody.
Nobody's spared.
And it's not like it's a nice death, where he's like, you faithfully have served me 90 years. Now, you get to peacefully die. He's not like that. How many graphic, horrific deaths did I see as a kid? It's absolutely crazy. There's no mercy, no grace, none.
Well, Jessie, I'm going to end the interview there. Thank you so much for joining me on Nino's Corner.tv. I'd love to do a part. I guess that was our third one, right? This was our third one?
Yeah.
Let's do part 4 soon. Yeah, absolutely. Right, this is a great one. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you.
She just keeps making them up. Hell, she could be on part 100. Who knows? So that's Jessie. We are working on an episode on Jessie with some more of like her background and what's going on and this and that. But I wanted to get some of the Nino stuff out because I knew she was going to make some wild claims. Plus, I wasn't going to do a very long show. I do have two more things I want to show right quick, and then we're going to wrap it up. First of all, both the things have to do with this, but for the people who are still out here for some reason claiming that this is fake, this is not true, that part of the war wasn't true, that this evacuation isn't true, these people aren't dying, our soldiers aren't in harm's way, and we'll probably end up with fucking injuries, casualties and shit, at least wounded soldiers from all this, and the way we left the country, who knows what kind of backlash is going to have. For those people, I'd put them towards this article, which is from the Air Force Times, which was they're claiming that this video is all fake, that the engine wasn't blowing people away down the tarmac, that they didn't have enough people clearing it, that too many people were smiling and they didn't have enough luggage because I guess fleeing for your life you take your luggage. But here's this article. Air Force launches investigation after human remains found in C-17 flying out of Kabul. This is on August 17th. U.S. Air Force by the way, this is the Air Force Times. It is owned and produced by the Air Force. The U.S. Air Force on Tuesday confirmed that human remains were found in the wheel well of a C-17 Globemaster 3 after desperate Afghans mobbed the transport jet as it departed Hamid Karzai International Airport in Kabul Monday. The service's Office of Special Investigation has opened an inquiry into the circumstances surrounding the widely covered incident that went viral on social media. OSI is reviewing all available information regarding a C-17 aircraft that departed the airport and the loss of civilian lives, to include video documentation. The source of social media posts, Air Force spokesman and Stefanik said in an email. Investigators will also look at online videos and press reports of people falling from the aircraft on departure. She said Afghans clung to the jet during takeoff and were captured on video plunging from the sky. OSI's review will be thorough to ensure we attain the facts regarding this tragic incident. Stefanik said, our hearts go out to the families of the deceased. As the U.S. winds down its withdrawal from Afghanistan after 20 years of war, Taliban militants have swiftly regained control of the beleaguered nation, sending locals fleeing for the streets or for the exits. The Globemaster 3 from Joint Base Lewis McChord in Washington State arrived at the Kabul airport with equipment to help evacuate Americans and Afghans seeking refuge. Before the air crew could offload the cargo, the aircraft was surrounded by hundreds of Afghan civilians who had breached the airport perimeter. Stefanik said, faced with rapidly deteriorating security situation around the aircraft, the C-17 crew decided to depart the airfield as quickly as possible. The jet taxied through the crowd and escaped. When the crew landed at Al Udeid Air Base, a U.S. military hub in Qatar, human remains were discovered in the compartment that holds the plane's landing gear after it retracts. The aircraft is currently impounded to provide time to collect the remains and inspect the aircraft before it's returned to its flying status, Stefanik said. So clearly there's a news story, and if this doesn't cover it enough for you, I don't know if you guys know this, but on a C-17 there's an engine inspection window to where you can tell. There's a little bitty window on either side where you can see the engine and any damage, or if you have a flame out or something. And there's also, if you look straight down from that window, you can inspect to see whether the landing gear is up or down. Here's the picture that came from that window. Of course, it's a white hat operation, guys. That's all fake. Did you see they were smiling before they got on the airplane? If we take this picture and just back it up a little bit, there's literally what fucking landed in Qatar. Oh, well, they were smiling and they didn't have luggage, and that he's not holding on. That is the wheel well door that covers the landing gear after it retracts. And it is not in its locked position, or else it would be a smoother curve around the corner. He's hung up in there. So I don't know why you keep trying to. You have to make this narrative that it's fucking fake, so it fits your goddamn president coming back easier, or Joe Biden's not real, or it's all a mirage and CGI and animation. But you sound like fucking idiots trying to claim that you're patriots, and then you're diminishing and taking away from what's going on with fucking boots on the ground in Afghanistan. So you can go fucking suck a dick. That goes to each and every one of you personally. Fuck you guys. Guys, I'm out for the night. Thank you for the donations. Sorry it's a short show. I've got a lot of stuff going on. I don't know. I got a lot of stuff going on personally, and I'm going to try to keep streaming because it helps me. It makes me feel better, but sometimes I can't even get started. So I'm going to hop off here for the night. Thank you for the support. Thank you for the donations. I appreciate it. And we'll see you guys on the next one. I want to do this. Let me replay this at the end. Do I have the full over up? Hold on just a second. Let me adjust this window size and we'll play this while we leave. Up and up, up. This is what Intel Lady made for us. Here it is. And then we'll go into music. Thank you guys, and we'll see you. I don't know what the show schedule is going to look like this week. We'll see you on the next one.
Are you a short man with a big ego? Do you feel less patriotic when all your biker friends tower over you? Are you always overcompensating by buying expensive motorcycles?
Thank you, Intel Lady.
You could just rise above your problems in more ways than one. Introducing the new Patriot Feet Hiter. The Patriot Feet Hiter adds a whopping 11 inches to your height. Now you can stand head and shoulders above your fellow patriots. Don't feel bitter towards your comrades. Just whip out your 11-inch tool and show them who's boss. The Patriot Feet Hiter. Elevate your patriotism.
You ain't seen none yet. And they say that I'm a lunatic. Well, listen, bitch, I came equipped with a quick wit and a 6 cents for the stupid shit. Where my true believers? Y'all need Jesus. Praise the Lord, head to the extreme. All these false fucking prophets who profit off of gossip. Worshipping drums, cocking, begging for a throat deposit. Swinging fucking meat hammers like Thor in a thong. He's strapped to the shaft, beating his chest like he's King Kong. Starving for attention, I'ma make your gut burst. I'll be your huckleberry, I can quench that thirst. Baby eating lizard people, alien sex. What's next? Trump in a dress, fucking Flynn on his desk. A retard in a vest, climbing up 5G towers. Cause you told him if he did, he'd get fucking superpowers. Here we go, I think I started some shit. Piss him off, it's about to get lit. Get the place in the bets, you know that stage is set. You better buckle up, cause you ain't seen none yet. Here we go, I think I started some shit. Piss him off, it's about to get lit. Get the place in the bets, you know that stage is set. You better buckle up, cause you ain't seen none yet. I used to find clues too when I was high on shrooms. I found myself a tunnel that led to Jason Q's bedroom. Open his closet, I found some of his meat rockets. I strapped them to my shoes and then I flew through the roof. I found myself in orbit strapped to an F-16. High on amphetamine, with Trump in between. Put on a light coat of baby oil and saluted the troops. He tapped me on the shoulder and said, "This is gonna be it." Whoa, wait. Stop. What? I'll get my files. Wait, what are you doing? Stop. Hold on. Fucking stop. Dude, come on. Seriously. My mom's an alcoholic. Give me oh my God. Damn it. Here we go.
Yeah, that's true. That's true, Dancing Warrior. He's short overall, but yeah, he's got that because of the part that they had to rebuild a part of his leg or whatever.
Piss him off, it's about to get lit. Get the place in them bets, you know that stage is set. You better buckle up, cause you ain't seen none yet. Round 3. Down goes Nino. Please say it isn't so. Got him backed up on the ropes, trying to ram it down his throat. Now things are getting rocking, he was doing so well. It's all over, hands on his shoulders, they ringing his bell. You got Frog News Network doing no damn research. They be working copy on Cox that came first. 9th inning, second string, and they acting like they know hitters. Assholes throwing bullshit, shit and runs to the shitter. All this nonsense on my conscience, it's hard to sleep at night. Who the fuck is in my window with this time of the night? These parasites, these leeches, with all their secret meetings, teaching all you fucking cretins about baby-eating heathens. Believing in reasons with no meaning is bullshit. Will Bird motherfuckers out here busting the grifts. Here we go, I think I started some shit. Piss them off, it's about to get lit. Get the place in them bets, you know that stage is set. You better buckle up, cause you ain't seen none yet. Here we go, I think I started some shit. Piss them off, it's about to get lit. Get the place in them bets, you know that stage is set. You better buckle up, cause you ain't seen none yet.
You don't have those guts, cause you're a pussy. You're a pussy wearing aviator glasses in your mother's basement, and I won't even give out your dime store handle, because that's really pathetic. But I can tell you this about if this douchebag happens to see this particular show, you don't have the forking balls to call out the people on this planet by name and tell them exactly who they are and tell them the rest of the world who they are. You don't have the forking balls. You don't have the balls.
Okay, Scott. Here we go, I think I started some shit. Piss them off, it's about to get lit. Get the place in them bets, you know that stage is set. You better buckle up, cause you ain't seen none yet. Here we go, I think I started some shit. Piss them off, it's about to get lit. Get the place in them bets, you know that stage is set. You better buckle up, cause you ain't seen none yet. And they say that I'm a lunatic. Well listen bitch, I came equipped with a quick wit and a 6th sense for the stupid shit. Where my true believers? Y'all need Jesus. Praise the Lord, head to the extreme. All these false fucking prophets who profit off of gossip, worshiping drums, cocking, begging for a throat deposit, swinging fucking meat hammers like Thor in a thong. He's strapped to the shaft, eating his chest like he's King Kong. Starving for attention, I'ma make your gut burst. I'll be your huckleberry, I can quench that thirst. Baby eating lizard people, alien sex. What's next? Trump in a dress, fucking Flynn on his desk. A retard in a vest, climbing up 5G towers, cause you told him if he did, he'd get fucking superpowers. Here we go, I think I started some shit. Piss them off, it's about to get lit. Get the place in them bets, you know that stage is set. You better buckle up, cause you ain't seen none yet. Here we go, I think I started some shit. Piss them off, it's about to get lit. Get the place in them bets, you know that stage is set. You better buckle up, cause you ain't seen none yet. I used to find clues too when I was high on shrooms. I found myself a tunnel that led to Jason Q's bedroom. Open his closet, I found some of his meat rockets. I strapped it to my shoes and then I flew through the roof. I found myself in orbit strapped to an F-16. High on amphetamine with Trump in between. Put on a light coat of baby oil and saluted the troops. He tapped me on the shoulder and said, "This is gonna be it." Whoa, wait. Stop. What? I'll get my files. Wait, what are you doing? Stop. Hold on. Fucking stop. Dude, come on. Seriously. This is my arms and alcohol. Oh, give me a... Oh, my God. Damn it. Here we go, I think I started some shit. Piss them off, it's about to get lit. Get the place in them bets, you know that...
Thank you, guys. Everybody have a good night, and we'll see you on the next show.
Here we go, I think I started some shit. Piss them off, it's about to get lit. Get the place in them bets, you know that stage is set. You better buckle up, cause you ain't seen none yet. Round 3. Down goes Nino. Please say it isn't so. Got him backed up on the ropes, trying to ram it down his throat. Now things are getting